There we go. So welcome everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Fall Business Women of Diversity Global Power Luncheon, live and online with phenomenal women throughout the US, throughout the globe. We've got women who are registered to attend from all over the place. Hopefully many of you will be able to join us. If you are catching the video of this and you were not able to attend live, we still love you. We are still super glad that you were interested in being here with us. So what I want to ask for everyone is make sure you have your pen and your notebooks. Of course, mine is always some sort of sparkly pink. Make sure you're taking good notes and reaching out to everyone. Please utilize the chat. We will keep the chat open so that you can comment, so that you can post your information. This is all about collective collaboration. It's kind of the mantra for the Empowerment Empires. Through collective collaboration, we all rise. So I am your host, Vihil Vigil. I am an international women's empowerment business coach. I am the CEO and the founder of the Empowerment Empire, published author, editor-in-chief of Magistra magazine. This was one of my first books, not without my coffee, because nor do I do many things without my coffee. But I never journal without my coffee. That's kind of my jam. And so if it's not like a nice glass of a vintage, then it is a cup of coffee. And so, so there's that. So what we're going to do today is I will be posting here our schedule. I was just getting ready to download a quick PDF so you all can keep up with our schedule. If you need to step out for just a moment, that is absolutely fine. We are recording the program, so you will be able to rewatch. All of the attendees will be emailed this big thank you with some sweet gifts that we have for you. And then you will also be able to benefit from some of the really awesome offers that our speakers are going to be presenting to you. Let me see if I can upload into the chat our schedule. And we will start there. Just one moment. Uh-oh. That's always fun, huh? When you hear the uh-oh. It was hold on just one moment. Completely lost it, the schedule. Oh, let's go back to the house. So like I was saying, during the program, what we're going to be doing is I will be your host. We will introduce the phenomenal speakers that are going to be joining us today. Each of the panelists will be participating in the 3 areas that we are going to be talking about. If you have any questions as the program is flowing, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will be, Joe and I will be monitoring those questions. Of course, Joe is one of our fantastic panelists, and so during the panel discussion, Joe, if there are any questions, don't worry about monitoring that. I will definitely be taking care of that for everyone as well, and making sure that the panelists know if there are questions being asked. We will take our lunch break at 12 o'clock Pacific time. The Zoom will stay open, but we will take a good 45-minute break. I know it's not always easy to be sitting in one spot for that period of time. So I want to make sure to give everyone the opportunity to have a stretch break, as well as to, replenish your beverages, use the facilities, whatever it is that you may do. You are not beholden to your seat. So there we go. So I went ahead and just uploaded the schedule for today. So you'll be able to pull that up. Let me just get my screen situated here. All right, so I think we're good on that. So what I would like to do, I'm going to go ahead and With my welcome to this Global Power Luncheon, I want to just go ahead and do a little bit of background on the Empowerment Empire, as well as the goals that we have here to empower women with not only health and wellness insights, but also to really infuse you with business skills to continue to building your business, to connecting you with the resources that you need. I refer women all the time to your Small Business Development Center, which provides a host of free resources for women entrepreneurs and those of you wanting to build your businesses. I refer people all the time to my other colleagues, women of the Empowerment Empire, or leaders of the empire, which I really love to call them. There are so many women within our circles that can, one, really benefit from sharing in knowledge with each other, and really help one another to continue to grow, to continue to figure out what it is that you're really great at, how to share that with those that with those who could utilize your services or your products. The goal of these power luncheons is to really sit and spend a good amount of time looking at your business from the CEO perspective. So I always like to call our power luncheons kind of like our CEO days, where though they are not one-to-one CEO days, which the Empowerment Empire does offer and I do teach, but the global power luncheons, the quarterly power luncheons, are an opportunity to bring a bunch of phenomenal women together and really share in how we all experience those sort of CEO days when we're looking at our businesses as opposed to working within our businesses. I think that is super important to do. We'll touch base more on daily activities of business functioning and business running when we have our power presentation at 1 o'clock Pacific time today. That will be one of the closing presentations before we have our group meetings. So first off, we're going to start with the power panel training on setting a foundation to succeed, where we'll hear from our amazing attorney, Viviana Oropesa, the attorney in heels, talking to us about how we can decide on the best ways to structure our business, as well as getting input from Joe Welch and from Cynthia Trejo, who is also our third panelist. So we're super excited for these phenomenal ladies, Cynthia Trejo, Joe Welch, and of course, Viviana Oropesa. So very excited for them to be participating in our power panel, because these are some really powerful ladies. After the power panel program, then we are going to be doing a networking with our sponsors and meet the Boss Latinas. So we're hoping that many of them will be able to also join. They're all aware. So as well as we can certainly speak with Joe Welch and Viviana and myself, we are all participants in the Boss Latinas anthology, which I have right here. We will be looking at all of the authors as we review the author profiles and be talking about how the anthology is such a great way to get the word out about you and your fantastic business and the things that you do by sharing your story, by really opening up the doors to who you are as a person, as well as to who you are as a businesswoman. So then after we have our networking with our sponsors, Marifa Mendez is one of our really awesome sponsors. You'll have seen from which let me go ahead and add that to the chat as well. And for those of you who are going to be watching the program later, with the emailed packet that I am sending over to everyone in our thank you, you will be receiving all of these elements as well. So let me go ahead and just upload our cover here so you can, oh, it still says Eventbrite post, but that's okay. So we're going to be talking about our partners and our sponsors. Next Step Marketing from Marifa Mendez. Of course, the Boss Latinas Anthology, North Star, independent affiliate. we started off working also with the National Latina Business Women's Association in San Diego, and now I've also am working on a fantastic collaboration with the national organization for the Latina Business Women's Association, which is really exciting. We are so thankful. The Attorney in Heels is always willing to participate in our program. We'll talk more about Magistra magazine as well. And I will make sure to get that sent over, all the information to those who are attending in your thank you packets as well. So concluding the presentation is what we're calling our, I'm going to keep the power presentation until we get to the power presentation, but I want to talk a little bit about the virtual cake, coffee, and conversations. So when the Power Luncheons first began, there was a really amazing Latina vegan baker who was in my circle, and she would make us these giant vegan chocolate cakes, and she would always put our event design on it in like a sugar coating, and so you could eat the cover as well. And that really inspired a great way of collaboration and networking opportunities. So we're sitting with our cake, we're sitting with our coffee, and we are talking about who we are. So that is our round robin opportunity to, we'll take a break from the presentation and really get to know everyone who is in attendance. If you are not able to join us live today, then we are going to be putting all of this amazing information into a private Facebook group so that you can access it and you can chat and get to know one another more, as well as rewatch the program within the group as well. So that's really exciting. So over Cake, Coffee, and Conversations, we want to know, and we'll repeat this, but who you are, what your business is, what your services are, what are you offering, and what you need. What you need right now, today, in your business to help you get to that next step. That I think is something that is so powerful that we always share here in the Power Luncheons, so that when you are walking away from the event and from the program, not only do you have all of these great insights from the conversation and the education and training, but you also have resources that you didn't have when you first walked in the door. And that's one of our really big goals here at the Empowerment Empire. And then the program will conclude. Swag bags are really fantastic. You know, I love my swag bags. And so I will be gathering the rest of the pieces from our swag bag sponsors, and then I will be shipping out your boxes. And so you'll be getting those fun boxes, like those little box subscriptions that are so popular. We love to do that for the quarterly Power Luncheons when we meet remotely. So you'll be getting one of those as well. So that's really exciting. And I'm so, I always love sending people presents. And so when you all get them, make sure to take a picture with it and post it into our Facebook group. And we can all share in, you know, the awesomeness of the swag bag sponsors, which we will talk more about later when we're doing a sponsor roundtable. So let's go ahead. I know that we're a little bit ahead of schedule, which is fantastic. So our next piece is going to be on our Power Panel training program. And the 3 topics that we are going to be talking about are setting a foundation to succeed. And let me pull up the information to introduce our fantastic speaker. So give me just one moment. So I am super excited to introduce to you our 3 panelists. The Power Panel training program is going to span basically the life of your business. Number 1, setting a foundation to succeed. Number 2, implementing consistent growth strategies. And number 3, leaving a cash-rich legacy. And our first featured panelist, Ms. Viviana Oropesa, Esquire, MBA, founder and CEO of Attorney in Heels, executive board member, National Latina Business Women's Association, all around mentor and advisor. She volunteers so very much. And she is coming to us from San Diego, California. Thank you so much, Viviana, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yay. And then our second featured panelist is Cynthia Boyer-Trejo, CEO of Her Element Network, LLC, founder and president of In Her Element Foundation, an advocate and a mentor and a fantastic woman all around as well, from El Paso, Texas. Thank you so much for joining us today, Cynthia.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying being here. Really looking forward to meeting everyone.
And our third panelist, last but not least, my co-conspirator, my co-editor. I'm so grateful to Joe Welch in so many different ways as well. Jeanette Ocampo, or Joe Welch, author, speaker, entrepreneur, multi-entrepreneur, interpreter, and recent singer of the national anthem at Fenway Park, which is super exciting. If you haven't jumped on her Facebook page, you'll have to stalk her and check out her singing, which was fantastic. CEO of the Will Ferry at AskJoe.org, coming to us from Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome, Joe. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I feel like almost like one of those game show hosts. And then, so what we're talking about today in this fantastic panel are ways that we are going to set up our businesses, ways that we're going to consistently grow our businesses, and then what are some ways, and Joe's got some great secret tips on this, on how you can continue to leave that legacy for your family or for your children or whomever you like, to continue to receive residual income, for example, by participating in certain types of businesses. So excited about getting to that as well. So first up, we will do is we will go from Viviana to Cynthia to Joe in each of the questions. And if you are following along in the chat, and if you have any questions that you would like to ask specifically of our phenomenal women panelists, please go ahead and write your questions in the chat. I will keep an eye on that so that I can make sure to roll your questions right into the conversation. So first off, let's do a little pause since we are ahead of time and talk with each of you about your inspiration to become an entrepreneur and to become a business owner. So if you could each take about 3 minutes and let us know, where was it that shift in your life happened, or did you always know you were going to be an entrepreneur? So just tell us a little bit about you and how you started your businesses, and we'll start with Viviana.
Good morning, everyone. So happy to be here. Shift, right? We all think it's a shift. It usually is like a mindset shift or something specific in our lives that kind of triggers entrepreneurship. For me, I think it was more than anything else, family. I decided I was going to launch my own law firm when I finished law school, but I didn't actually decide that until halfway through law school, because I had a child while I was in law school and he has special needs. So as far as like launching my own firm, I decided that after I had my second child who has autism, and I knew that I was going to need to be around more and I was going to need flexibility. And the traditional law firm is, 50 to 60-hour weeks. You don't see your family, you don't see your friends, you don't have a life. And I knew I couldn't afford to have that type of lifestyle with, 2 kids, and especially with a child with special needs. So for me, that was the shift when I decided to launch my law firm. And as far as my practice for business and estate planning, trusts and estates, it was very organic for me because I had worked in those fields, but on the investment side of things, I was an investment advisor for several years. I had a background in finance. So I had worked as a financial planner, working on the financial side with both business owners and families, doing buy sells, funding their trust with different types of assets. So my practice launched on the other side of that. Like I went from being a financier on that side of planning to now becoming a legal professional in that same field. So that was kind of organic for me, and that's how my my practice got started.
Thank you so much, Viviana. I always love hearing your story, learning more about you. I am a super fan of Viviana, attorney in Heels. If you all are not aware of that already, she's a really fantastic woman and has got such great insights when it comes to setting up your business. And so we'll definitely be sharing all of our speakers' contact information so you can reach out to them and book appointments with them and really talk to them about your needs as well. Cynthia.
Thank you. And I love that name, Attorney in Heels. That is pretty awesome. I love it. So
absolutely. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about, give us a little bit of background on who you are and then how you decided to go in and create this phenomenal organization, Her Element Network.
Thank you. So, I love business. I've been doing things since I was a young kid. I think it came from my mom. She was always, selling something. And so at a very young age, I started selling ice cream and we called it ICC. So it was in my blood. I've had several businesses and now, I'm doing Her Element Network. But I think it all comes down to the fact that I'm a people lover, problem solver. So if I see an issue, a challenge or something, I don't know, it's within me to try to see what I can do to help. And so when I was in financial services, I concentrated on working with women and, having really important, deep discussions on what was important for them. I came to find a pattern in the way the challenges that women were facing, and many times what I saw is that they were feeling that they were facing these challenges alone, and the pattern was there. These ladies that I was meeting with lorealizing, gosh, if they only knew that this other individual is feeling the same way, and so as a people lover, problem solver, I try to find a way to help with this. And so that's how Her Element was created. So Her Element comes from the fact that women are now in their element when it comes to being in business and being in the workforce. 50% of the workforce are women. And so the challenge is, my company focuses on the working woman. How can I help inspire, empower, develop, and help them to reach their full potential so that we don't feel like we're the onlys? There's actually a word for that, the onlys. You're the only one and the only woman in the room many times. And so with Her Element, we do training and development. With the foundation, we help women who are girls, high school girls, senior high school girls, and women of color. And it's all to guide them to the forefront of leadership. So thank you.
That is fantastic. The more that I learn about Her Element Network, the more I am just so impressed by the wonderful work that you do, Cynthia. And I was just speaking with a lady who was featured in our International Women in Business Mastermind. She's in Killeen. And I was telling her about you and I was sharing your information with her. And so I'll have to sidebar message you about that, about connecting the two of you. And we have some of our authors from the Boss Latinas anthology who are also in Texas. And so we were looking at doing our regional book signings. And so we'll definitely have to collaborate and connect on that because I love doing that. So thank you so much. Joe Welch, Jeanette Ocampo Welch, tell us who you are, you amazing, phenomenal woman, and why you decided to go into business for yourself and to become an entrepreneur and such a multifaceted entrepreneur as well.
Absolutely. So my name is Jeanette Ocampo Welch, but I am also a sign language interpreter. So my sign in the deaf community is J-O. It was given to me because I was smiling at a person who actually was deaf and blind. So she would see me coming so she named me Joe. So I love that. I think, I don't know if you guys ever read the book Little Women. I think a lot of us wanted to be Joe. And so I'm very happy to have that legacy. My parents are from Colombia. They came here in the 60s. And, when I was born in New York, I didn't think about, the impact of having two cultures, right? I grew up, maybe a lot of you, when we're in that insular space, we just do what we got to do. We're growing up. I moved to Miami and all of a sudden I was taken out of one environment, put into another. And suddenly there were some differences, not necessarily the Latinidad, but there were parts of me that didn't fit in. And so for those of you out there who are listening, do you ever have those moments, right? That we don't fit in? The other side of that coin is that because I didn't feel like I fit in, I second guessed who I was all the time. Even though I come across strong, or I came across strong, I came across confident, there were lots of part of me that I just didn't even recognize or embrace. Some of it because my parents weren't from this country, right? Maybe you guys have that where something's happening, but let's use the idea of money. How do you achieve wealth? What is that story that's told to you? What does that look like growing up? And as you're manifesting all these different cultures, it's hard. I was very, very entrepreneurial young. I would make things, sell things. I remember being on a corner with a friend with the orange peelers and helping him make money, but I never learned how to negotiate my rate, how to ask for what I deserved. And that stuck with me. And again, just piling on to my lack of worthiness, lack of belonging. It keeps going on. And I know that I'm not alone. And it's, kind of fast forward through, I did start a career in sign language interpreting. I have a background in production and photography. I'm an artist. I love doing all these things, but I would put the title above that, especially in Latina and especially in women, that we do that because maybe we don't have the resources or the support system. So we become the one-stop shop. Once again, still entrepreneurship because I'm doing everything myself and I'm not charging anybody for it. So fast forward to now, in the most recent time, I'm 52 years old. In the pandemic, I met Project Enye and this woman, Denise Solar-Cox. She is a filmmaker of a movie called Project Enye. Being Enye, which is all about that mix of being a first generation, having multiple cultures, and actually validating who we are as people who have parents or ourselves born in other countries who come here and are also American. And for the first time, much like I am right now, I was in a room full of other people who had very similar experiences to me. And so this is a long story long to say that the journey for me was not direct. I didn't go to college and then go right into business school. I always had the sense of doing right and wanting to, whatever I knew, I wanted to share. And so working in the deaf community, the Latino community, I've done a lot of leadership, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have fought for people's rights. I've been a coordinator, a stage manager, like all those things. The way I can best describe it is as though it's like a bicycle wheel with all the spokes and I'm in the middle. And I can see the connection between this and this, even though they may not see the connections. And so to manifest all of those connections, I created Ask Joe, because at the very least, if you're looking for an answer, I'm a hustler. I'm going to find the answer, whether I have it or I have friends around me who have it. That's manifesting into like working out how do we truly network? Not just pop into all these different spaces, but how do we truly network? And then that came with understanding better network marketing, which gave me tools. And then from there, I've just been around such amazing women, business owners, people who are changing the world. And with that is just led me to the Will Ferry, which is an accountability service. It's not an attorney. This is what I love. Again, the connection. You can go see the attorney in heels for your legal advice, but I'm going to keep you honest to make sure you get it done. And so I also I'm an entrepreneur, so I add businesses to my portfolio. I just added a residential solar business to my world. And it's just another facet. So every day I'm learning something more. It is such a joy that my first bout of authorship happened under the Empowerment Empire. I also have my book nearby as well. I need to get it right handy. And so I know I've told you a lot. I did sing the national anthem. That's probably a big selling point right now. And the only thing I can really just not only thing, but the way I tie that onto entrepreneurship and what we're doing here is, what is that bucket list? How do we think about how we get there? For many years, I didn't know how to get to that point. And because I made myself available and made myself known, somebody thought about me in the time when they needed a singer. I'm a singer. I'm also part of the deaf community. It was Deaf Day, like it was a celebration. And all those things came together because they knew who I was. They knew how to find me. They knew my brand, right? They trusted me because I've been a part of the community. And so I think it's one of the best way of looking at entrepreneurship, even though I didn't get paid, but I did stand in front of 32,000 people and sang my face off. And I'll tell you, I rocked it. Thank you so much. I know that's a lot. There's so much that I do, and I love every single ounce of it. I just want to give credit to, because it was Deaf Day. deaf and hard of hearing awareness, I actually worked with a friend and colleague of mine, EJ, who is a Black deaf actor. And so he is doing his rendition of the national anthem next to me, and we coordinated it. I made sure that we made sure that we had moments together so that we could have those moments of impact for the whole audience. So it's absolutely one of my favorite moments in my life, and I will share that as well with you guys as we continue on.
It is so fantastic. When you were posting on social media that you were going to be doing that, I thought, wow, like Jo is just so multifaceted. Like that is, I had no idea that you were a singer like that. I mean, she can run some karaoke like nobody's business. And if you're a lover of karaoke, she does this fantastic online karaoke business that my daughter has participated in a couple of times. And so it's family friendly. It's a bunch of hilarious people. So I knew that. But then when she was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be singing at Fenway Park. And I was like, what? That's huge. Like, that is so huge. Congratulations on that. That's really exciting. Thank you so much, ladies, for introducing yourselves and telling us more about you. I want to go ahead and jump right into our questions. And so our first question is, when you're setting a foundation for success, now that you have been in business for a while, and I know that I wouldn't ask this question of you if you hadn't already been in business for a while. Looking back, what are some of your suggestions that you would provide to the woman entrepreneur that is getting her business up and running, that you, based on your experience, based on your knowledge, what would you say is really crucial to setting your business up with the idea of long-term success? Like we don't oftentimes think about that. We oftentimes think about, what do I just need to get started? Well, can we slow down that thought and really think about, what do I need to get started with the end point in mind, that I'm going to be growing my organization? If that kind of makes sense, you could touch on those things, and we'll follow the same circle with Viviana and Cynthia and Jo, and feel free to jump in as well with your thoughts.
Yes. So when you start with the end in mind, that's kind of what I had in mind when you were saying, like, what would you tell people? Always start with the end in mind. And that's not a new concept, but sometimes we overlook, like, we just see what's in front of us and we don't think about, like, what's our long-term plan and what do we need to build on that so that the long-term plan will sustain itself, right? As an attorney, of course, I'm going to tell you to set up your legal foundations properly, right? Make sure that, you know, if you do have a long-term plan, that means that you're going to eventually sell the business, or you are looking to bring in additional partners, like your structure has to be on point, right? For example, if you're looking to do a startup, grow the business, and you're looking to 10 years or 5 years down the road sell it, you don't want to start up as a sole prop. You want to make sure that you set up the proper corporation, that you set it up in a way that you can grow. Having questions like, are you going to bring in investors? And if so, how do you intend to do that? Are you going to sell shares? Are you going to borrow money? Are you going to seek grants? And your legal foundation is going to determine if you're able to do that or not. There's times where when you start your business on a certain structure, and then anything changes further down the road, then sometimes you have to switch back and forth between your legal foundations. Sometimes you go from converting an LLC to an S Corp, if that's what you're looking to do. There's so many elements to it. Obviously, the end in mind is big, you know? So really thinking about, like, what it is that you intend to do with the business. Are you, just doing it as a side hustle? Are you going to sell it? Are you going to bring in investors? Are super important questions. I know that sounds all like very boring. It's not very inspirational, right? But it is very important because, our dreams have to be set on a foundation, and we have to set the right foundation so that as our dreams do grow, like, we make sure that the foundation is strong enough so that it doesn't crumble beneath us. So I think it's important more than anything else to have the right structure and always seek out your advisors, your experts, like your attorneys, your CPAs, your advisors, because they know more than we do. Like even I, as an attorney, like I know that I need a coach. I know that I need a CPA. I know that I need a bookkeeper, and we have to make sure that we seek out our experts. So, because if our dreams are big and we're looking to grow our businesses, then we need other people. We can't do it all ourselves. And when we start, obviously, like a lot of the time we're doing everything ourselves, but we have to be, I guess, humble enough to recognize that we can't do it all. So definitely seek out your experts and make sure that you set up the right foundation for what your dream is. Think about the end and how you intend to get there, and then make sure that you get the right advisors to help you get there more than anything else.
Thank you. I love how you say your dreams are going to grow, and they can't grow on an unstable foundation that's going to crumble. I think that's a really good way to look at it. Cynthia, when you were thinking of setting up, in hindsight, now that you have built this phenomenal organization, the foundation and the network, what would you say to the entrepreneur who is getting ready to start her business about what you have learned in the growth of your organization that, if you were able to go back and kind of do it again, what would you do differently in the setting up of your foundation?
Of the foundation. So the foundation is the nonprofit. So right now I'm running both. It's a lot, but it's very rewarding. Everything that I do is very, very close to my heart, and so I'm willing to work hard for that. I think my biggest lesson, I mentioned that I've owned other businesses, and the biggest lesson that I received from a mentor was that everything that has a beginning has an end. And so I needed to keep that in mind. Many times we think of our business as our baby, but we need to look at it differently, not so much as our baby, but our wealth building, machine that we're growing here. And the other thing I would say is work on your business, not in your business, right? That's another important thing to keep in mind. We need to find ways to multiply ourselves. And so that's what I've learned over the past few years as I've had different, opportunities to have businesses. I mentioned I had other businesses, and my first business that I had, it was my baby. So I'm sharing from my experience, right? I was at a pivoting point where I had to decide if I was going to get a loan for my company so I can grow. It was growing exponentially. I mean, it was just growing beyond my ability to keep up with it. And so, cash flow is a big thing. Is as I was in advertising, and so I had a magazine, and I had to pay for that up front. And so, in order to be able to maintain and keep up with the growth, I had to either get a loan, get a partner, or I was looking at my options. In the process, we were also buying a home, and so what I decided to do is just close down the business because I didn't want to get a partner. It was my baby. I didn't want anybody to come in and take away my ideas and all that. So I just decided to close down. Big, big, big mistake. I could have looked at a partner. I could have looked at an investor. I could have sold the business, but because it was my baby, I didn't want anybody else's hands on it. And so that was a big, big learning lesson for me. And so I'm doing things differently here with her element. I am working with other individuals. I'm collaborating. I have mentors. I have a business coach. All those things are learning lessons. So the other thing is, think about processes. When I talk about, working on your business and not in your business, that entails having processes in place because you want to be able to replace yourself, right? If you're in the business being everything that the business needs, you're basically spinning your wheels. So make sure that you have processes in place so that somebody can come in and take over if they need to, right? If you get sick, that was the other thing is, I remember telling my husband, I can't get sick. And with COVID, how was that possible? Right. I did end up getting COVID, but we got to look at having those processes and systems in place so that if you are unable to, or you decide that you want to, have somebody take over, you have somebody that can just come in and take over with those processes and systems in place. I mentioned, having a business coach. So that's the other thing that I did different is I made it a point to make sure that that I set money aside to be able to have a business coach. Because when you're a business owner and you're on your own and you're not reaching out to somebody to have somebody just to bounce ideas off of or see even if you're going in the right track, you can get easily sidetracked, or you can get discouraged, right? Sometimes, many times we feel like we're alone as a business owner, we are alone. You know, how can I share what I'm going through? But you have someone that can put things into perspective. I recently have a partnership with a university here, and I was trying to figure out how to create that partnership. And I was sharing that with my business coach, and I was telling him, you know, I really need to talk to somebody. I'm not sure I know how to do this, and blah blah blah. And so he put things into perspective, and he comes back and he's like, wait a minute, look, you have the experience. You have the background. You have about 70% of the knowledge that you need to move forward. And so he put me back on track because I was feeling, discouraged. I was feeling like I didn't have enough knowledge and all that. So that's why it's important to have someone to go back and kick ideas with, right? They can put you back on track. They can lift you up. They can guide you. They can provide resources. So mentoring and coaching, that's huge. Invest in yourself, invest in your business, invest in the possibility of moving forward to grow, to create that growth. Set goals. Again, that's huge, right? We need to set those daily goals and set it in a way where you can see it on a daily basis. So, another business that I had, I created a schedule. So I was in insurance, and I had to sell 20 policies a month, and so I had the full month on my wall. And by just seeing that on a daily basis and seeing where my goals were, and whether or not I was hitting my daily goals, I actually ended up doubling my sales every month because I was able to just see it. Again, you're talking about visualizing, right? So you see it, it's at a glance, just by I had it color coordinated. So by a glance, I could see exactly where I was and whether or not I was hitting those goals. So you have to be accountable to yourself. That's so important. As a business owner, it's who's going to hold you accountable, right? It's your business. Who's going to hold you accountable? You have to hold yourself accountable. And by in doing these things where you can see things visually, and whether or not you're hitting those daily goals, that's a great way to hold yourself accountable. If you don't hit the goal that day, transfer that over to the following day and try to hit the goal for the following day. Don't let it, go into a whole week and into a month, because then you can feel overwhelmed. So it's something to shoot for. So those are some tips that I can share as far as foundations for success.
That's fantastic, Cynthia. Thank you. I was writing away. So make sure that you all have your notebooks and you are taking notes and you're really thinking about what our panelists are saying and how they really apply to your own life and to your own sort of circle of friends who are also maybe building businesses and are trying to grow their organizations. Make sure that you spend some time watching the replay of the video to absorb fully what our phenomenal speakers are sharing with us. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for all of that. Joe, thinking back, now that you continuously are growing your organization and you're adding these different elements to your organization, you are diversifying your portfolio with the best of them. Tell us, if you had an opportunity to sort of go back and to start over from the beginning, knowing what you know now, what would you do different about setting your foundation for success?
I would sleep at Cynthia's house and gather all that knowledge. So I'm going to just back it up to an emotional place first. One is, how many out there had someone like Cynthia in your life to be able to give you the direction that you needed? Most of us don't. And so again, going back to that foundation where we are doing everything ourselves, we're looking at it. What do they say? Forest for the trees. We're looking at that lens through the things that we're capable of doing. So we're in not even present tense, we're in past tense. The things I know how to do and the time I have to learn something new. And that consumes us. I loved what Cynthia said. And I'm looking down, guys. So I have my notes. So just so you know where I'm looking. My baby. I think that's a fantastic frame to think about that Cynthia mentioned, that when we're creating a business, very often, especially if it's an entrepreneurial business, it may be coming from something that is so heart-centered. And so I know that for me, that's everything that's happened, is because I love people, because I want to help, because I want to do these things. And so there's a big disconnect about wanting to do more and then also charging for it. So we have to think about our relationship with money. And that I actually, is it Jen Sincero? She has the I'm a badass at making money or something like that. Was one of my first steps into starting to own it. And it took me years to really say I am worth. And then I had to fill in the blanks, the dollar sign. What is my time worth? I'm happy to go to that job, work for somebody else's goals, and get paid certain amount of dollars per hour to do something for somebody else. But I struggled with doing that for myself. I will give you know what? I just realized it. I give myself away for free to me. And that's a mindset shift that unless we're already looking at the business in that way, it's going to be hard to build on top of that. Another thing that was brought up, and again, I love going back and making these connections because, Viviana brought up partnerships and investors. And again, that's about looking forward about where are we going? And we may not have answers, right? We may not know what that means or if we're worthy, right? So if we don't think we're worthy, then those decisions are not going to be worthy. I was there. I didn't think I was worthy. It's only now that I'm thinking about sponsors and grants. Like now, I'm 52. Like the years that I've lost in not really seeing that what I had, not only that what I had was valuable, but that other people might want it and need it. And so that to me came with the layer of, okay, I need an expert to do this. Well, how many of you guys were the expert in everything in your house? If I wanted pictures, I took pictures. If I wanted to make the empanadas, I looked up the recipe or I learned from somebody. I was the expert. So shifting that, looking to someone and saying, I need an expert in here is a big ask. It's a really big ask because we don't know. And now we're going to talk to somebody who knows. And then what's the thing that's going to come in the middle of that? How much is it going to cost me for somebody to tell me things that I can figure out myself? I can make this work. I can stretch the dollar. I can find out for myself. I'm so good at these things. And I love that Cynthia said about humility. Some of it is humility, right? That's the act of doing it. But the other side is that, do you even know that that's an option? It's about knowing. Okay. And then the field of coaches out there, there are a lot. And so the way we can start to manifest that is starting to understand better about what it is that we need. We don't just have to go, eyes closed, running into every coaching space and throwing the little money we have at people. But instead, we need to ask other people who have those coaches and say, what were your determining factors? What was important? These are things that it took me some time to figure out. And everybody wants to share their coaching style with you. Every expert wants you on their books. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we need to learn how to ask the questions to be more savvy. And I know that for me, those things kept me back from entrepreneurship. When we talk about foundation, it's, when we're looking at the business, someone recently talked about baking a cake. So I'm going to use that analogy. I think I want to find more of a Joe analogy. Well, let's the empanadas. So, if you're making an empanada, you don't start up the pot of oil before you get the ingredients, right? But that's a lot of how we do business. We're already starting up the pot of oil to fry them or to bake them or however, and we're not thinking about the ingredients, how we're going to do it, where we're going to prepare. And I'll even take it a step further, is that we are not looking at the recipe. And that recipe does say to us for that business that we need to be taking care of ourselves, our family. And with that, the foundation for me is actually the will. It starts there because it says that my life matters. The things that I'm doing matters. Everything that I'm doing, whether it's a business or a job or whatever, I'm taking an inventory of my success. That already is a game changer. You get to meet people like Viviana who are going to give you that precise information about what it takes to partner with an investor, but it's scary. I know it is. But look at this beautiful face. Like, how easy is it to have a coffee conversation or to find out more information about that? And that's the piece we need to release, because once we start doing that, then the decisions we're making and the choices we're making in terms of creating our foundation becomes easier. It is going to cost money. It's okay. You're going to sell things. That's okay too. And we need to think about how to do that efficiently. One of the 4 pillars in the empowerment empire is business services that allows you to have access to getting advice and to getting your will done, and to, having someone to ask those questions regularly of. It may be something you never thought about before, but just because you never thought about it doesn't mean that it's not important. You may just need context. We talk about selling because that's what we're doing at its core. We're creating, but then we're selling something. We're selling ourselves. We're selling a product, a service. And what selling is a transfer of belief. Everything here, even if you don't sign up for a single product, every one of us has a belief that we want to share with you. And we look at that SELL word as a 4-letter word. So for me, about building the foundations is, one, understanding better what it is that we're being asked to do, right? Going back to that empanada example. If I don't have a recipe and I'm just guessing and grabbing some things from the store, starting the oil before I even made the meat, right? I didn't ask anybody for a recipe, then I don't know what's going to come at the end. And it also isn't, what about the 10 people who are waiting for empanadas? I've got people waiting, right? And they're hungry and I'm hungry, but I haven't set myself up with a good foundation. The recipe is protect yourself from the very beginning. You're not waiting for that value. Along the way, find out the places that you're being blocked. Ask the questions of experts. That comes in the form of networking, as well as hiring experts to do the job that you should not be doing. If you're the front-facing person in your business, you have to start finding ways to delegate. It may be your baby, but what's the goal? I have a baby. They're in college right now. My goal is not to keep my baby here, right? Like we are, think about, like, you know what I mean? It's a great analogy, because the goal isn't that I'm going to keep the baby so close that I'm the only one who serves it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to empower my baby to be able to grow up, be strong, make good decisions. And that's what I want for my business, whether I keep it forever, or if I decide there might be options for it that I have to let it go. So my overall thoughts around foundation work is that sometimes we also don't know what that is. And there should be no shame and no hesitation in asking people, especially when we tell you we will actually talk through it with you. Take us up on our word, because we're you. We're doing the same thing every day. We're empowering others to do it. So please take us at our word when we say we want to be there for you and help you make those decisions.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you mentioning about the products and the services of the Empowerment Empire. I really appreciate that. And I love that we've had the opportunity to really get to know one another to the point where, like, we are, I think that the women here that are on your panel really embody that collective collaboration, which leads right into our next discussion point on implementing growth strategies, whether it's system wise, or whether it is strategic planning wise, whether it is getting involved in your local organizations, whether it is networking and collaborating with others. Like, for example, this is a perfect example on how we could continue to grow our businesses, is by collaborating with other women leaders, by collaborating with other women that we admire, that we respect, that we look up to, that we feel we certainly align with in so many different ways. So for the 3 of our panelists, Viviana and Cynthia and Joe, what comes to mind to you when you think about implementing strategies for growth in your business? Like, what has really worked for you to help you get the name out about your organization and what it is that you do? And we'll go ahead and start with Viviana.
Well, for your business specifically, you have to think about, like, what's your ideal client, right? We are always told, what is the ideal client and where can I find him? What is he doing? Is he playing tennis? Is he or she a mom? Is she an entrepreneur? And then going to where your ideal client spends their time. For me, a lot of my clients are businesses. So I network with a lot of business owners. I connect myself with people who are like-minded and are my ideal clients. I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs. I love, I know I'm a lawyer, but I like to call myself a dream builder because I take sometimes what women have as their very what feels like not a concrete idea, and then I help them build on that, right? I help them create the company and launch the product and build the business or grow the business. So for me, I love looking for those places where we have those women dreamers, right? And it could be from anything from getting involved with local nonprofits for people who are like-minded to, chambers of commerce, or just really collaborating with people online who are very alike. I mean, me and you, Vihil, we met online because we are very like-minded and we had a lot of the same goals in mind. And it's turned into a beautiful partnership over the last
Yes.
2.5 years. So it's really thinking first about what your ideal client is, and then going to those places where your ideal client spends their time and having that personal connection with people. Because at the end of the day, we want to work with the clients that are good clients to us, that they're the clients that we want to do business with. I mean, I'm sure as entrepreneurs over the years, we've all had those clients where we weren't kind of on the same page. You don't think alike, but you feel like you need the money and you take them and then you regret it later on, right? So you always have to find yourself thinking over and over again about where your ideal client is and how you can seek them out and, be able to collaborate with them. And that's how you grow, at least from a grassroots standpoint, right? From a very personal connection type of way. But I mean, as far as growing your business from a bring in investors kind of thing, I mean, I could do a whole presentation on that, but at least that's kind of my breakdown on a more personal connection kind of grassroots level.
Great. Thank you so much, Viviana. Yeah, it has been, we met, 2.5 years ago. Viviana was one of the speakers on one of my early mastermind programs. And we just really connected. And so every time I've got something going on, I always reach out to say, hey, are you available? Are you interested? Because when you find someone that you vibe with and that you both have a lot of similar, you have similar intentions. You are, Viviana is very much so into empowering the woman business entrepreneur, the woman would-be entrepreneur, and helping them to become, that entrepreneur that they envision, for themselves. And I love that. And that is very inspiring. And it's also very to the core of what the Empowerment Empire was created for, was to empower, women who want to start their businesses. And so I look at Viviana as such a huge resource to women entrepreneurs that, is just, by collaborating with her, it's just been so beneficial to, I think, our audience, as well as allowing, one another, bringing each other into each other's circles. It's such a fantastic opportunity for growth. And when you are an entrepreneur starting out and you're trying to figure out what to do, surround yourself by those women that you see doing the things that you feel like you want to be doing. I mean, that's how we got started, with the Power Luncheons, where, which was 4 or 5 years ago, when I thought, I can cook. So if I cook and I make a big meal, would these women that I saw as women that I looked up to in my community, this was in Sacramento in Northern California, would they come and speak? I would give them a stage, and they did. And it just continued and it continued. And I did the one thing I knew I was really good at until I was comfortable with being a business owner and being an entrepreneur, and then stepping onto that stage. And it's a lifestyle. And when you start surrounding yourself with those women or those people, male or female or what have you, with those people that, that you see are living the type of a lifestyle that you that you want to work towards, then you get that much closer, because it's like you almost absorb their knowledge, that you start becoming in tune with their circle of influence, and surround yourself by the people that you want to reflect. We are a reflection of those that we keep the company of, and so just be mindful of that. Thank you so much, Viviana. And Cynthia, if you were to think about ways that have been most successful for you, and ways that you think would be very successful for others to implement, as far as like growth strategies and ways you were able to grow your organizations, the network as well as the foundation, what do you think would be some of the top reasons that you would share?
Okay. So I think it's very, very important that we know who our market is, right? I'm going to start with an analogy of a kitty cat. Okay. When you look at anybody here have a cat, a kitten? No. have had one?
I used to.
Yeah. So when you look at the cats when they're getting ready to play, if you've ever had this little thing where you put in front of them and they're getting ready to jump or pounce, right? What they'll do is they'll study it, right? They're not just going to jump. They're going to study it. They're going to analyze it. They're going to look at maybe the movement patterns and things like that, because cats really don't want to spend their energy chasing things around. They're going to try and get it with one pounce. Okay. So that's what we need to do with our marketing when we're looking for our customers. Okay. We gotta strategize. We gotta analyze. We gotta pay attention. We gotta look at the patterns. We gotta look at all those things before we move forward. Okay. So that when we do decide to move forward, we're getting it in one pounce. We don't want to waste our energy with all those other things, right? And the other thing with going along with that is not everyone is our client. Not everyone is our customer. So when we take the time to analyze, to know who our market is, who are they? What do they look like? What is their income? Where do they hang out? Where can I find them? All those things, then we're not overwhelmed with trying to make everybody our customer. We're going exactly where that individual is. And we know that individual utilizes what we offer, right? And so when we're going to go talk to them, when we're going to go strategize with them, we're meeting with that individual that we know needs our products or service, okay? The next one is know your numbers. So what does that mean? Many times when I sat with business owners, when I was in the financial services industry, and I asked them, what is your break-even point? They didn't know. So it's important that we know what our break-even point is. Where is a point and where we're making money? Because we don't want to just accept anything. So we don't want to just, not everyone is our customer, and we don't want to just accept everyone as a customer, because we want to make sure that we're making revenue within our business, right? And so we need to know where our break-even point is. If you have a product, if you have a service, if it's just a service that you're providing, then what is it costing you to put that together, right? In my business, I do professional development. So it's not a tangible thing, but it takes time to develop that professional training. And so how much time are we putting into it? What is the cost of putting into it? What is the research and all that stuff that goes into putting that program together? And so when I'm looking at a client, I already know the numbers of what I need to be looking at in order to be able to know that I'm making a profit, okay? It sounds very, very almost mechanical of, running a business. But if you want to have a business that's going to be sustainable, that's going to grow, that's going to bring in income, we have to learn to think that way, right? Because many times as women, it's more about relationships. It's more about, working with an individual, maybe even doing something for free because of our relationships. But if we're doing that too much, then we're really not helping ourselves. So we got to be aware of that, right? When I go into that, as going into that one, takes me into the next one of everything that we do within our business. We need to look at, is it generating a profit, right? Are we generating income? Are we generating sales? Are we doing something profitable for the business? Our time is very valuable. And so we got to make sure that we're utilizing our time during working hours to either generate business, generate relationships, doing something that's going to be helping our business. So I'm also the person that takes care of my marketing, right? So I do all the graphics and everything for my marketing. I don't do that during working hours. Although working hours for me is anywhere from, 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. But I'm talking regular business hours, 8 to 5, right? After 5 o'clock is when I'm doing my marketing, when I'm doing my graphics, because during the hours of 8 to 5 is where I need to be concentrating on reaching out to clients, looking for opportunities for sales, looking for opportunities to generate income. After 5, then I can work on the mundane things, right? I can work on the things on the bookkeeping. I can work on the graphic design. I can work on the things where it doesn't require me to be working with an individual. Marketing. So going into marketing, I have a sales background. So I've been in sales about, maybe 30 years, close to 30 years. And so one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that when you have a client, that you do what you can to maintain that client. It's more difficult to find a new client than it is to have maintain a client and have that individual refer clients for you. So maintain those relationships, maintain those clients. Those are very valuable, that you've worked hard to, get those clients. So make sure you keep them. Look at ways on how you can attract new clients, either through offering a referral program with your own clients, right? You can have your clients refer business to you, and you can have some type of referral program. And then as far as expanding your market, it's so important that we build relationships. Her element was not built on my own. It was all done through relationships, through collaborations. Those relationships are so important. We gotta make sure we nurture those relationships and we maintain them, and we look out for those individuals. My business really actually grew during COVID. So I started Her Element in 2019, when in March of 2020, I was expecting to have my ribbon cutting, but then that's when we know what happened in March, right, of 2020. And so at that point, I thought, no, this is not a good time to even try to even do anything like this. Businesses were closing down and things. And I thought, no, I need to step away. And so I stepped away, started to analyze, what can I do here to help? Really, Her Element is all about helping women. And it's true to my heart that I want to help women. And so what happened at the end of March, at the end of the year, it was somewhere like maybe in September or so, I started to see how COVID was really affecting women. And so that's when I decided to really push forward. How can I really help women through this situation that we're in? And so I started to reach out to individuals on social media, which is something that I had no knowledge in, right? So again, getting uncomfortable. I've been uncomfortable ever since then. So we got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I went out, I started getting on social media. I started doing lives. I did rooms on groups. I, connected with people on LinkedIn. But through all that, I was able to build collaborations. And so now I have women who are leaders, experts in their field, who are helping with Her Element, because I got uncomfortable. And was able to reach out to individuals that I felt that I probably would never even be able to talk to. But I found that there are many women out there who want to help other women. And so we got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Right now with COVID, we also have to be uncomfortable being on social media. So LinkedIn, Instagram, all those social media outlets, what works best for you? Find out what works for you in what you offer, and then build your relationships there online. So that's what I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. No, I totally agree. When you're looking at growing, when you're looking at connecting, you have to find these opportunities to collaborate. You have to figure out what it is that you need to do. Like Viviana was also saying, you put yourself where your client is, put yourself where your customer would be. There are so many ways to put yourself out there and to start reaching out with others who, either reaching out to others who can help mentor you or can help be a accountability buddy with you, or reaching out to those who might be your customer, asking them, if I were to offer this, would you buy it? Would this be something that you would want to participate in, and see what their responses are like. Put yourself in their position and see, are the things that I'm offering something that what I think my ideal client would want to, absorb, would want to buy, would want to pay for, to bring into their lives. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Joe, touching on ways of growing your organization as you continue to bring in different business elements. How are you balancing that? How are you folding that in as a growth strategy, with the diversification of your portfolio? Maybe you could talk about the importance of that. But give us some thoughts and some ideas on how, if you were to look back when you were getting started and you were to be writing out a future growth strategy plan, what would that look like for you?
One, I would have one. So I will admit that even though there's a lot of really good things happening, I'd have to say it out loud. So maybe some people can identify with me that often, again, we're making the empanada we're not in a kitchen. We don't have any fire. So that's your growth. And I will admit it, I don't have it because I also have put the cart before the horse. I have done the thing, and maybe other people are like me, where it's like, I love creating. I have so many ideas, but the one thing I would do differently is that I would seek out the way to track. One of the tools that's being used, for example, in terms of reaching out to people and sharing that I have a business, is someone uses 10 quarters. And so you set yourself the time as noted, right? And then you make calls, and every time, it could be pennies, it could be whatever, buttons. And every time you make a call, you move your quarter or your penny you make your third call, you make your fourth call. And so I think that's a really ground level way to start thinking about what is it that we're doing here and how do we actually start tracking. That to me was like last, because I can do that for other people, but I can't do it for myself. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. I can help you launch your business, but I also struggle with those things for myself, because some of it is about that, again, going back to mindset and worth. The core of growth is about relationships, which is maybe people don't realize that at first, right? We have these ideas, we have the passion, we're doing X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of moving pieces, right? There's training, following and tracking, experts, services, a profit, all these things. There's so much. But at its core, what we're doing is we're building relationships, because without those relationships, then nobody knows who you are, what you do, and what you can do for them. In terms of growth, it does require mindset that if it is all about only serving you, if that's the only voice and point of view that you have, is that it's about you, it's about what you want, it's about how you see things, and you're not taking in your client, whoever that might be, then already you're missing the point. You're missing out on the ways that, again, if you're building a relationship, what you're doing is you're transferring the belief into their space so that they can say, oh, that's something I could use or I could need. Again, going back to my own experience, I had no idea how to do these things. I felt very awkward. Going back to that 4-letter word of sell, I didn't want to seem salesy. I didn't want to seem like somebody who's trying to take advantage, or I actually didn't want to seem like somebody who earned money on the things that I did. And so when we're looking at the growth, not really understanding that we're building relationships that are going to last through whatever it is that you're doing. Because everything is about that transfer of belief, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are fundraising for your group, whether you are helping sell cookies, the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, People Scouts, all the Scouts with the cookies, whatever, right? That's a little plug for you. Victoria is selling Girl Scout cookies, and we already have the belief that they're delicious. Like, we already know that they are during a certain, look at that already. We have a relationship with Vihil. Victoria is selling cookies. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'll have to keep that in mind. And then I'll reach out to her. Like, that's all about the trends. And like the belief is set up by the Girl Scouts. There's also so many ways that we get distracted. And I'm actually speaking from my own experience. I am a workshop junkie. I'm a networking junkie. Do you know how many business cards I have? And I have thousands of names and phone numbers. Who else is like me? Like, I meet people. I'm really good at it, right? I love people. I meet people like till the cows come home. But what I realize, and again, I'm opening myself up here because even though I do a lot of things, I'm a hot mess in the background. And that's the thing that I'm trying to fix, right? Because this is about growth. So I'm at a place right now where I have to have numbers in place. I have to start to see, because again, I'm working for myself for free too. It's all mindset. If I can't see my time as valuable, even to me, then I'm wasting it. Because if I show up at another networking group, but then never follow up, if I show up at another educational thing that's going to teach me, and then I don't follow up, and then I do this and I don't follow up, all I am is a very well-educated poor person. Anybody else a very well-educated poor person? I got a, IPA tastes on a Budweiser budget, I have, and those are for, again, and I think even talking here, like I realize how important and what it is that I do in all of the different ways that I coach as well, is that it is about mindset. If we cannot get out of our own way, if we are not surrounded by people who are headed in the same direction as us, then the only mindset you're feeding is the one that you're in right now. So, and what I also love as an interpreter, this is also very critical. I like knowing what the words mean, because those are ways that very often we may feel uninvited to the party, or that we feel I felt less than. I felt like I didn't know what people were talking about. It took me years. It took me years to figure that out. I will also say, and I'm going to say these words knowing what they mean to me, but they may mean something else to other people. Network marketing taught me what sales was, because I didn't have any other examples around me. I happened to partner with a great company, PPLSI, which I love, which I'll happily mention, Legal Shield. And what they did is they invested. Now I get it. I'm their salesperson. I'm out there talking, but at its core, I believed in the product. And what they did is they finally started teaching me the words of what it meant to have customer development and nurturing. And again, what does marketing look like? And how do you talk? I'd never had those in my life. And I'm very grateful to that experience. And now I've taken and elevated it to the next place, because I took those tools and I was surrounded by people who were headed in the same direction I was. And then I manifested that into women spaces, Latino spaces. And again, looking at where is it that I'm going and how do I show up in those spaces? Maybe I don't know stuff, so I'm going to have to ask. That takes a lot of that big swallow. Like, they're talking about stuff that I don't know. Okay, the hand is going to go up. I'm very courageous, but putting yourself out there to say that I don't know, or to represent and say, there might be some people who don't know what we're talking about, is important to bring those people with you. So that growth also goes to the words, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So what happens at that moment? Are we going back into ourselves? I don't know. Therefore, I'm only going to have the only answers that are right. Or am I seeking an expert? Do I trust the process enough? Do I know how to evaluate? Like, look at these amazing models right here. Am I using the tools that are being given to me and taking it again? I said it the last time. If someone says, please call me and put time on my calendar, do you believe them? Do you take that moment and not bring your whole bag, but instead actually receive what they might be talking about, even if you don't know? I take so many notes now. Like I write constantly. Then there's also, in terms of growth, I do a lot of things. Who else is a lot of things? Like, I do X, I do Y, I do Z, I do this, I do that. And one of the things that I struggled with was people kept telling me, stop doing, you can't do all the things, you can only do one. And I'll tell you right now, I'm still not a fan of that kind of language. However, The way that I've manifested that in terms of growth is I picked one vehicle to do all the things, to start to measure, to start to understand, to go deeper, to build a following, to build a brand, to do those things. That's the will fairy for me. So while I have solar and I do this and I do that, my will fairy is the one that's going through all of the steps. It's learning how to track my time and market and create offers and learn how to pitch and all of that. And what it's done for me by continuing down that one path is it's allowing me to bring the other things in my wake, to bring those other things with me, so that now I have a skill set about one goal that I can set that I can now apply to all my others. So for those of you who are multi-creatives and you have a lot of thinking going on and you want to do all the things, one of them does have to do with discretion. How many things can you really do well? But you don't have to give them all up, but do find one vehicle that's going to allow you to be able to show the people what else you can do. And it may be that you're more of a brand than you are a company. I'm a brand. If you meet me with Ask Joe, you start to get a sense of what you're going to hear. Some explanations, definitions, funny stories, maybe some songs. That's very much my dad. He's a song guy. Like, I realize now that my karaoke and singing is him. He would bring his guitar to his psychotherapist meetings with people in groups because it makes people feel more comfortable. That's also our Latinidad. Those are our cultural touchstones that may not fit in a much larger world. So you have to find those places. Are you flexible? That's growth too. Are you able to go into a space that maybe isn't comfortable? It's already been mentioned today about the discomfort. What does that mean? Don't put yourself in harm's way, but are you willing to put yourself in a place that might have information that you don't know how to process yet, but that you put yourself out there? I mean, Vihil is very kind to acknowledge all my help, but I just keep showing up and I tell her I'm going to help her. And so she has no choice. So it's also the reminder of, one, offer when you can, but the other side of ask for help when you need it, because we need it. I'm just looking at my notes because these geniuses, they just say so many great things and I don't want to miss. I love the cat, the 1 pounce. It doesn't come all of a sudden, right? It's not going to happen. We want it to, right? We want to build the top tier class that everybody wants and throws thousands of dollars at us. I want that. But the reality is that we have to understand all the steps that get there so that you can do the pounce. And maybe the pounces are different, right? Maybe those the ways that you get there are in different ways, but the pounce is about efficiency. Again, going back to one vehicle. If you are knowing what the vehicle does at every stage, allow yourself the joy of learning that, then the other stuff is going to come. Also, I'm a part of a couple different coaching processes. I work with a woman named Forbes Riley, who I love. She's the $2.5 billion queen of pitch. So she is a great model for me, and she is exactly the energy I need as a woman who has so much strength and courage and vision, who needs a coach. That's a great example of finding someone who's a good match for me. Maybe somebody else, maybe you're more soft-spoken, maybe you need those challenges. There's so many things out there. And so finding your right coach is going to be important. You don't have to spend $1 kabillion, but you have to value yourself in your budgeting, in your work, to say that I'm going to invest in not just my business, but myself. And by the way, it's tax deductible. And those are workshops that we should be having all the time. When it comes to our ideal client, again, those are powerful words. We in the Enye Dream Accelerated, they said, who's your fulana? Who's the fulanita that you're focusing on? And whatever it takes for us to understand who our clients are. I'm going to tell you that for me, I bring all of this because I didn't want to do any of that. I didn't want one vehicle. I didn't want to track. I didn't want to get coaches. I didn't want to spend money. I didn't want to do those things because I could do it and I could do it better. And it was so much easier for me just to do it. Let me just go ahead and do it. And that doesn't promote growth. That promotes poverty, because I am working for myself for free. And once I started changing that, things started to manifest and come to me and show up. Vihil showed up to me. These women in this panel are now here. You guys, whoever you are, I know I don't see your faces, but you are also in my world. In that also, in terms of learning how to pitch and learning how to do those things in terms of growth, that is that pounce. How do you learn to be more efficient? But also sometimes in the business, maybe you are the creative. Do you need a partner who's going to ground you? Is that something that you need in your partnership? Maybe one person is the nuts and bolts of it all, but maybe they don't explore in that creative space. Sometimes it might be either about partnerships or a board of directors. Again, that coach. Maybe it's not a coach. Maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's a networking group. All of these things have different purposes. But sometimes, using the hammer analogy, that if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I'm going to yell at my client, my neighbor, about the things that I have and why don't they ever want to buy my lotions. And I'm going to be mad because this thing's costing me money to put an ad and it's not giving me anything. And I don't understand why when I met the networking group, nobody wants to talk to me. Hammer, 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 hammer. And so we have to build a toolbox. And it is much like an interpreter. We have to have different scripts to talk to different people. And that takes practice. And my last point about growth is there are so many aspects in that bicycle wheel. There's the education, the training, the follow-up, the tracking, all of these things. But of all of the things, the only thing that's making you money is making the call. Asking them, telling them, or letting them tell you what they need, and you meeting their need and transferring that belief. But if you're not even playing, then you don't have a business yet. And that's hard. That's hard to hear. The reason I'm not further along is because I could not understand this, because I lived in my comfort zone of education and knowledge and creating things and doing all this stuff. And the only thing that is standing between me and wealth and creation and success is that I need to not only put that quarter down and put another one down and put another one down, is I also need to follow up with them and say, is there something more I can do? Is there something more I can offer? Am I meeting your need? Is this not what you need right now? And be okay with it, because it goes back to what I started, which is it's all about the relationship. You're not getting clients. You're building your community, your ecosystem. And they want to feel valued. And you want to have a value to share with them. Thank you.
I love the quarter analogy, Joe. I think that for any of the entrepreneurs and any of the women who are, catching this program, any of the people who are catching this program, who are trying to build your organization, literally go get yourself a roll of quarters, and follow through with that process, with that analogy. Do not get up from your seat until you have been able to really reach out, because I can relate, Joe, with the fact that I'm super creative. I like to write books. I like to host programs. But when I pick up the phone call and I'm doing like my 45 minutes of, outreach in the morning to potential clients, it's not something that comes super easy to me, but it gets easier with practice. And if you're not even allowing yourself to practice with something as funny as like a roll of quarters, then maybe this is not the right business for you. If you really truly want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to go out on that ledge into that uncomfortable space. Because one, not only are you going to grow from this experience, but you're also going to really be able to see, okay, one, either I need to get someone else to do this for me because this is not my expertise. I want to be the creative, and I have the ability to bring on a salesperson. But until you're at that point, you need to be, willing to either hire your salesperson or get on that phone. And you'll see that when you're getting on the phone and you're talking to potential clients, it really helps you to become such a better service provider or such a better product provider, because you are talking directly to those individuals who are going to be absorbing your services, absorbing your products. I mean, if you're not someone who likes to say affirmations every day, you probably don't want to buy the book. But if you're like, oh, that sounds fun, if that sparks an interest in you, then maybe that's a great thing for you to consider picking up. I think I love the roll of quarters idea. I love that you shared that. Thank you so very much. I always learn so much when I have the opportunity to sit with other entrepreneurs and other women business owners who are just multifaceted and willing to put themselves out there. You know, even coming on the program today, we all could have definitely have not done this. But the fact that we are stepping out of our comfort zone and like committing to doing something like this, where the program can continuously be shared throughout, you know, this year and next year, and who knows, you know, it's an opportunity to really put yourself out there and share about your organization and what you're building, why you're doing it. So for the final question for our esteemed panel of phenomenal women, the final question is, leaving a cash-rich legacy. As entrepreneurs yourself, as business owners, as community involved women, what for number one, what would you like to see your legacy being? What is your legacy going to look like? And then how are you going to leave it in a cash-rich way? And are you? Do you planning on closing the doors and saying, you know, okay, I'm done, I'm retired? Are you planning to try to sell your business? And these are just thoughts, like what do you think would be best for you in regards to, and if you don't want to answer that specifically personally to you, what are some experiences that you have that you would like to share about what you've seen people being able to do when they're leaving a cash-rich legacy because they were entrepreneurs, because they were business owners? So I know it's a little bit more broad than the first two questions, but how do you see your business leaving a lasting impact? And do you plan on like trying to figure out how to sell your business? I think you get where I'm going with this question. So I'll let you answer it in whatever way is most fitting for you. So how do you foresee leaving your business as a cash-rich legacy, or leaving a cash-rich legacy? And how can you recommend others consider doing the same? And we'll start with Viviana.
My cash-rich legacy is going to involve a lot of trusts. But I mean, as far as the practice is concerned, I guess it just depends. I have a big vision for what I think attorneys and heels will be. And I'm not going to say too much. I'm kind of keeping that close to my heart for now, because it's kind of a thing that I'm working on. But yeah, I mean, at least for me, my practice will eventually be sold. My brand will be sold. And, you know, in order to sell, at least in this side of my business, I have to do it with lawyers. I can't just like transfer the family business to my son or daughter unless they're lawyers, right? So for me, it's a cash out type of strategy. I think eventually I'll sell and I'll implement a lot of different strategies, kind of like the way was it the Carnegies that set up trusts for future generations, where you basically set up a trust where everyone in the family can seek out the family trust as a family bank, but it would only be for development of businesses or personal development, anything that would generate wealth for the family, right? And I can go into the details of how that will look like, but I think
that's super fascinating. I'd love to hear more about.
Yeah, so the way you can set up a legacy is through family trust, right? Like a family bank, basically and it can be funded different ways. I'm sure you guys know. I know we have a financial planner. I think is it Joe? You're a financial planner, or you, Cynthia? Are you a financial planner? But basically the way it is you pick your favorite, or not your favorite, but the most adequate financial product. And then you use that to fund a trust that will generate wealth for the family as a legacy. And the way you do that is, for example, if it's for charity, you could create what's like a charitable remainder trust, where you dump the cash in a trust account that will generate a certain amount of dividends or a certain amount of interest per year. And then anything above the principal gets funneled into the family's favorite charity. Or but more than anything, for me, my dream is to have the family bank, which is a trust where I put my wealth and my legacy, and the family can borrow from it to grow. So anytime anyone wants to tap into the family bank, like the Carnegies did, you basically put together a business plan and a request to the family bank, and it would be something that would generate wealth, right? You come to the family bank, you say, I want to create this type of business. This is how I want to grow it. This is my business plan. This is my strategic way that I am going to grow the family wealth by tapping into this family bank. So in essence, you go to the family bank and you request a loan from the family bank. And then, of course, you protect that wealth by setting up the proper insurance policy or the proper insurance, so that if there is a loss, a person dies, something happens, that the family bank never goes below what it initially started with. And then it pays back into the family bank when you create your business and you start to grow. And it's basically setting up a foundation so that the family has not only the mindset, but also the structure to grow wealth as a family, right? So anytime anyone in the family in future generations wants to tap into the family bank, it will only be for the purposes of growing the family wealth and growing themselves personally. So that's kind of like a big vision, but a very attainable one, I think, that I want to do for my family. Like, I don't want to just have a business, sell it, and then sit in retirement and then deplete what I built. I want to build a really good, strong foundation so that my children and my grandchildren after me have this foundation that will continue for generations of not only entrepreneurship and creativity, but also continue to build the wealth, right? So
that's fantastic. My wheels are totally turning over here. I'm like, okay, now that's the next thing on my list, because that's, as a single mom with a now 9-year-old little girl, this is definitely something that I've been rolling around in my head as well. I know that so many of the women who will be experiencing this program as well, so many of our members, sorry, kicked over my water. So many of the women who are members of the Empowerment Empire, and so many of the women who come into contact with our programs are oftentimes single moms building businesses to try to, supplement income and to bring in extra money. And, or like we all experienced with COVID, how we, a lot of us lost our jobs and had to stay home with our kids because, one, they weren't going to school anyways, and nobody would watch our children, and nor did we want anyone to watch our children at the time. But we still had to figure out a way to bring in income. And if that family,
and I think the idea that you could have future continuity like that it's not only building the culture of continuing wealth, but you're building a culture for the family of creativity and a culture of sustainability, where you're basically creating a future generations independent business owners that will all have the funding to seek out their dreams and their business building through the family bank, but in a way that where there will never be losses to the family bank because of how you set up the structure, and it will always be available for generations and generations.
I love that. I am taking so many notes right now, as I always do when I talk to Viviana. Thank you so much for that. That is such powerful insights and powerful information. That if anybody who is viewing the program, or in the future, if you view this program and you are interested in how to create and set up a family trust, definitely reach out to us, and we will get you connected with the right resources that you need to be able to do this for yourself and for your family. This will definitely be something on the radar that will make sure that we find these resources and have them documented so that we can send people in that direction. Thank you so much, Viviana. Cynthia, if you were to think about, and maybe you have already thought about this as well, but how do you see and you already have a foundation set up, so that speaks volumes as well. How do you see yourself leaving your legacy? What does that look like to you? Do you have advice to share to other entrepreneurs? what is it that you think is going to work best for perhaps your organization, so that when you are leaving your legacy, that it is able to continue to empower and inspire others?
That was a handful of questions. Let me see.
You can kind of take your pick on what's most appropriate for you.
Okay. So yes, I do have the foundation. That is something, that would be a legacy, because it's going to continue regardless of whether I'm around or not. And so, God willing, that continues. We continue to serve the underserved and underrepresented community. That was the whole idea for starting the foundation. As far as the network, the Her Element network, the idea there is to grow within different territories, not a franchise, but in a way that it could be shared, right? The opportunities can be shared with other women who want to do the same thing that I'm doing in their areas or their part of the country. This is a global network, and so it doesn't pertain to the US. I'm still in the growing stages, but that's the our vision is to create a global network of women elevating women. And so I am thinking globally. That thought was possible when COVID happened and doors opened, and I started to have women that I collaborated with, and they were from all over. They were women from all over the globe. And so that's where the vision came in. With my background being in financial services, I tend to be more look at risk and stuff like that. So what are some ways in which we can protect what we're working on, right? I mentioned that I had a background in other businesses, and what I could have done differently when I had my advertising business, that I could have sold it. I could have had a partner. So those are things that we need to take a look at, right? I also had an insurance agency, and I brought my daughters in to come and work with me individually. They came in and they said, this isn't for me. And so when I realized that they didn't want a part of it, I ended up selling the business. But again, short-sighted there. I should have looked at other opportunities. I could have continued the business. I could have had a key employee. There's things that I could have done to continue the business, so that there could have been some wealth generation there for my kids, even though they didn't have an interest in the insurance company. So again, that was a learning lesson for me. And that's the lesson that I'm taking with me. So, I don't look at these things of having prior businesses and either closing them or selling them. There were learning opportunities for me, because now I see things with a different perspective, and how I can do better with this next company that I'm using right now, that I'm working on, not using, but that I'm working on. And so I have better ideas on how things can be managed better. Going back into the financial services, I think what's really important for us is sole proprietors maybe, or business owners, or self-employed. It's important that we look into getting disability insurance. I mentioned that there's been times when I feel like I can't get sick, I can't do this. And what happens when we can't? What happens if we're the only ones that are running the business? So it's important that we have that disability insurance. If we get sick, if we're not able to work, that income continues to come in until we're able to get back on track. Succession plan. So again, because of the background that I have, you can do succession planning with life insurance. So if there's somebody that you have within your organization that is very beneficial to your company, they have a big role within your company, you want to get key insurance for them, okay? Because if anything happens to them, then your business will suffer. That could be yourself. You could be the key employee, right? That could be yourself. So you got to make sure that you have insurance for that as well. What I've used as far as succession planning for my clients when I was in financial services was cash value life insurance policy. And I know not everybody agrees with that, but that's an area that I think is really important, because if you have maybe a family member, a daughter, a son, or a family member that has an interest in continuing the business and you want to retire, then you can get cash value life insurance on that individual, so that when you're ready to step away, the cash in that life insurance can be used as a down payment for the business. Okay, so that life insurance isn't just used for when the person passes away. That cash value is being created there that can be used to put a down payment on the business. And then you as the owner can continue to receive residual income as you create that opportunity for yourself when you step away. So those are some ideas. I wanted to leave with a quote in regards to something that Joe mentioned earlier. I love to watch Shark Tank. I don't know if you guys like Shark Tank or not, but that's like, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but when I do watch, I watch Shark Tank because I love business. But there's Mr. Wonderful. I don't like Mr. Wonderful. I like Robert, but Mr. Wonderful says some things sometimes that really make you think. And, I was sitting watching the show one day and he said, let me see if I get it right. He goes, if you're in business for a few years and you're still not making money, then you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And that really touched me. That really spoke to me. I'm like, oh, I love what I do, but I need to, I'm growing a business. I'm not working a hobby. And so with that mindset, I went back to work and I ended up bringing in a really large client. So Joe touched a little bit about mindset. It's important that our mindset, that we keep our mindset straight, that we keep it positive, that we understand where we're going, that we know where we're going and we stay on track. Doesn't mean that we don't look for other opportunities, but that we stay on track with what it is that we had originally when we started this idea or this business, right? It's what does it look like? Where do I want to go and stay on track? So those are the tidbits on that.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. I like final words. I always really enjoy that. I have heard that as well before, that if you are not making any money in your business, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. So let's figure out what needs to happen so that we can make sure that our business is profitable, and what steps do we need to take to continue moving in that direction. And to all of the women who are out there, all the people who are here, who are going to be listening to this program in the future as well, like, figure out what those things are. And if you can't figure them out for yourself, that's when you start consulting with others, surrounding yourself with people who do have profitable businesses. Always be that lifelong learner. Always allow yourself to absorb new knowledge and new information so that you're willing to shift and grow personally, professionally, as well as with your business growth. Thank you so very much for that. And I also, I had set up for my daughter, because as an only parent to her, who knows what tomorrow is going to bring. And so that's what we did as well, as we set up an insurance policy so that when, even if I, of course, was still alive and she was, going to be at, like, I think it's when she's about 25 years old or something around there, where she can like draw out money to be able to buy a house or to be able to pay for educational expenses. And so it's important that we look at these financial vehicles in all of their elements. So many people think of life insurance as simply when you die, your beneficiaries then receive this chunk of money. Well, yes, and there are so many other ways that life insurance policies and life insurance products can be utilized to benefit, ourselves as entrepreneurs and our children and our families. So definitely look into those as well. So Joe, rolling right into you, I think this is a perfect segue about how we can create, with the creation of our businesses, we are working so hard to create these empires, and how can we really utilize them? And then give us an example of a way that you have experienced leaving a cash-rich legacy, for your child that you just noted, was now, congratulations, they are now a college student. What is it? It's NYU?
Pace University.
In New York, though.
In New York. Yeah, they are living 18-year-old me is very jealous of 18-year-old them. They are living a life right now. It's so great.
That's so exciting. Congratulations on that. I'm super excited for you and for your family and getting your child off to your adult child now off to college. That's got to be really exciting.
Absolutely. It is very exciting. And I think that the idea of college is also one that comes with like a heavy price tag, right? Even if there's scholarships or ways that things are
Yeah.
being funded. I love the knowledge that Viviana and Cynthia had shared here about. I love the bank idea. What a great bank idea. Like all of it. I just was going on Cynthia's website and both of their websites and looking at all the resources. If you guys have not yet, you need to sign up for the newsletters on these two ladies. It's amazing, the resources. I can't express how I wish I had had this even 4 years ago, like when I was trying to put all of this together. Mindset, absolutely. And actually even the mindset may not be about the business, but the mindset is more about being open to the things that we don't know. So especially in a place where we are proud, knowledgeable, where we are, I hear my husband in the background. I don't know if he knows I'm presenting or not. Hi, babe. Okay. So when we don't know things, it goes back to, are we allowing ourselves to learn? I didn't know anything about income other than doing a job. I went to somebody's place. I did it for their reasons. And then I got a paycheck, and that was safety, security, maybe health benefits. There's a lot that goes in there. Right. And so I had only one view of what cash safety looked like. It was signing up for someone else's mission. And in the time that I've been learning, and what I've been learning is this idea around 7 different streams of income. I felt like I was struggling to have one, and then I was having like 6. And, I'm a freelance interpreter as well. So I had a job and I had jobs and I do more jobs, and I was everywhere for somebody else. And really taking a step back to understand what that means, these 7 streams of income. It's ways of creating money that comes towards you, right? Not out, but towards you in different ways. Some of them are businesses, some of them are investments, some of them are trusts that are being funded, some of them are residual income, which that was a new word for me too. Residual income, meaning that what the job I did once continues to pay. You guys might recognize this in insurance brokers, your car insurance, your health insurance. Somebody sold you something, you keep making your faithful payments, they get a piece of that. There's nothing wrong with that. Yet when we turn that cycle and look at it on ourselves, I'm like, I don't know, do I want people to keep paying me? Yes, that is what we do. There's so right, like, and again, it goes back to that mindset, but the mindset has to be that we're open to learning something different, maybe doing it in a different way, not getting stuck in the ideas that the only way I know is the only way it happens. That's the beautiful thing. Like, just even in this, hour together, 2 hours together, I've learned so much about these amazing women with me, and I can't wait to see how I learn from them and maybe even partner with them and collaborate. So the 7 streams of income is important. Things like life insurance, like expert. So looking at what it is that we're doing in our day-to-day life so that we're not just spending money like crazy and not seeing a return for it. Believe it or not, spending money on an expert, on a coach that helps you have deliverables, that helps you have a result, is going to make you more money in the long run. But that's hard to think of it that way. That if I brought in a coach that, again, I'm just going to go back to the cat, 1 pounce, right? One thing to get what you want. If you're aiming towards that, then you can see that your time, how much is your time worth? Is it worth $10 an hour, $15 an hour, $100 an hour, $500 an hour? I didn't think about that. I'm a sign language interpreter. I could tell you what my interpreting hours are worth. And then I had to take that and think like, okay, well, if I could interpret all the time, then I can at least look at this number. Like, it was in baby steps. And now I go, okay, well, my interpreting rate is this, minimum 2 hours, blah, 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 all the things. Now I can see myself as this CEO, founder, and going like, well, actually my time is worth so much more than that. So some of the cash plan, the richness is about using our money wisely to keep more wealth, right? Instead of making mistakes and throwing money at ads and doing that, finding someone who may be really in tune with why would you use a Facebook ad or any kind of ad, and how do you efficiently use this so you get a return? So you start holding on to those things, making sure that you do have legal coverage so that if you get a speeding ticket, you're not spending the money out to pay the ticket, to pay the fine, to pay the increase of your points on your license now, that you're now going to pay more insurance. Some of it is about being wise and using those experts in the moment so that you're holding on to more money as well, right? We will, who was talking, I was on another call where they were talking about somebody, people know that gas station on Tuesdays gives 5 cents off of a gallon of gas on Tuesdays. And then you see the line of cars sitting there spending the 5 cents of gallons of gas that are that are to get that one. And so we're not being thoughtful and efficient in how we are holding on to our money, but also how are we choosing the people around us to educate us. Ooh. Hang on one second. Technology. I love the hobby and not a business. And I want to add another layer to that. This is not arbitrary. The IRS has a line in the sand about what is a hobby and what is a business. And saying the IRS, how many people clenched? Oh, but that is part of being a responsible business owner, is that we are taking on, that's the thing about entrepreneurship, is that we're taking on that risk, which means we have to take on the understanding of where those lines in the sand are so that we stay in the right direction. All of the knowledge that we're talking about, succession planning, life insurance, all that, I have to admit that this is not my wheelhouse. I'm signing up. I'm going to, I'll see if I find her name, but I'm going to a conference in Reno with a woman named Laurel, and you'll have to forgive me. She's new in my circle. She's, like a well-known author and financial person. And I'm going for a weekend because I'd never had that opportunity. Now I meet Viviana and I meet Cynthia, and it's very likely I might have it in my own backyard, but I didn't have a place where I could show up that shows me the whole ecosystem of how to be a business. The things that were mentioned here, I'm actually going to go to Reno and find out more about. I wish I'd realized that I had this in my own backyard, but that's a great example of we're being inefficient. I don't know what it takes. I have an LLC. Am I using it to the best of my ability? We have a nonprofit. Are we funding that and doing the things that need to happen to the best of that ability? How am I looking at all the different people? There's so much. But again, I have to be open for it. And at its core, in terms of being able to take what we're making and move that forward, you have to have a will. You have to have a will. Now, I'm not saying, and nor would anybody say, that a will is going to solve all the problems, because a will has a purpose, as does life insurance and beneficiaries, as does all these different products. They have a way that the money moves on to your next generation. But what a will does, even at its simplest form, is it makes the headache of sorting through your whole world a little lighter for the people that we're leaving behind. I prefer to see it more as an inventory, an inventory of our success. So it says, by the way, I do have a life insurance policy. I do have these trusts. And then the person who's looking at this blueprint says, oh, okay, I know where to find that. It's giving somebody permission to also respect their time that has value and say, I know exactly which banks I need to go to. I know what's in these places. It's just a blueprint at the very least to say to your family, I value your time and you're worth so much that I'm going to do this right now while things are small, while things are light. Maybe you own a house, maybe you don't. Maybe you have children, maybe you don't. It's all good. But that pet, your stuff, the bags of receipts that you've been holding on to, and by the way, the fact that everything is behind a digital wall. We know that in protecting our identities, that is becoming a stronger force field to keep people from being able to get there. It's not perfect. It's not impervious. But if you give somebody the authority to act on your behalf when you're not here to make those decisions, that's half the battle, because they're going to have to. And there's probably people out there who have done it for others. The grandfather, the auntie, the best friend, where you had to sort and go and spend quality time. I have friends right now who are still embroiled in unpacking somebody's estate physically, boxes and boxes of things, trying to find out if there are bank information in there, maybe old trusts that have been established. I actually know a family who had a trust for one of their children who needs this as an adult. Nobody knows what bank it is in. I love the idea of, how about that set of keys that has like 15 keys? And is it a key set for some kids to play with? Is it a key set to like some safety deposit box? Do you have vehicles in another state? Why would we put those questions onto our family? And then again, looking at that cash transfer, maybe it doesn't impact your overall worth, but now we're eroding at it by having them have fees. Now they have to find an attorney. Now they have to fight Facebook to close your account because people are posting all over and it's getting crazy and it's very emotional. Do you have children under the age of 18? Do you have people who in your life, an ecosystem that value you? You are a part, you're a cog in somebody else's wheel. You are helping that Girl Scout troop, the networking group, the businesses that we do. I have a story where my husband is a blues musician and we met this amazing man. They were partners. We have a record. We were on the way to it before even the year started. We were on the way to a 6-figure, probably more, of gigs booked. And he passed away January of 2019. 33 years old, left 2 little ones behind, a fiance, and everything. I mean, talk about the different ways that impacted the who belonged to this, who's the songs belong to, who wrote them, who has ownership, how does that work, what happens to the partnership, like all of these things. We were decimated. I mean, it was a year, I feel like, before I could even look forward and think about my life. Like I was so impacted by that. And I wasn't his wife. I didn't live in his house. I was demolished as a human. Like I just couldn't even function. I never experienced grief like that before in my life. But if there had been a will, a lot of the places where I could have known what was going to happen next. Now you may think, well, that was just a business, or that was songs, you guys hadn't gotten there. Right. But that impacted my family that year and then the years to come, because my husband also had to pivot and figure out what was coming next. So when we're talking about cash, it goes all the way back to the beginning. What is our foundation? What are we building? What are we learning from each other? How do we get started? And it's a lot. I know that it's a lot. It's still a lot for me. But we take it one step at a time, try to find the people who are in the stage, or I like people using the season. What season are you in your business? Where are the gaps? Do you need to go back to that beginning, that springtime when things are being, I need to get my tracking in order. I need to really have a foundational place where money flows in and out of, that I know where it's going. I need to put that foundation there. Just because I have some great businesses that are moving forward, that I'm planning on, I wanted to mention, like, I want to gamify the will fairy. I want to find ways to change the way we talk about wills and create just a different conversation. Like, there's so many ideas I have, but if I don't have that foundation, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna get me to that place, and it's certainly not going to benefit my child to have to come back and unpack this entire house and figure out, did I have agreements? Do I have partners? Are there sponsors? How would they even know? They're not sitting here. They're not witnessing how I'm putting my life together and how I'm putting my business together. So there's a lot of different pieces, I know, and the goal of at least getting somebody to move it to the next step for me starts with the will and the basic wishes. When you start there, you're now taking an inventory of your success. Doesn't matter. You don't have to be old. You don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to be sick, but have something in place that at least gives somebody authority that, God forbid that happens unexpectedly, they can take the next step as though you were there, as though you told them what needed to happen, instead of having them dig and make it into an enormous scavenger hunt, hoping that they capture that. The one note I want to make is, especially as a first generation American, I don't have examples of wealth in my history. My parents moved here from Colombia, and the way I define it is they took one branch and then they replanted it here. And I am the generation that's starting to show that growth. And sometimes we don't think about that when we talk about generational wealth. we think about people who have already established it, right? That they're coming from something. They came with something. My parents didn't. So for a lot of us, especially single parents out there too, the planting of the seed starts now. And so we may not be passing on huge inheritance, but we're setting the groundwork so that those ahead of us have something to fall back on. So thank you. I hope that answered all the questions.
No, it did. That was really great. Thank you, Joe. Thank you to all of our panelists. I know that we are a little over time, and that's okay, but we're just going to roll with it. Thank you so much, Joe, for all of that information about, and she's the Will Fairy. Definitely reach out to her. And before we are sort of into lunch hour, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to share how you can get a hold and contact these amazing women that have dedicated their time to providing you with their expertise and their insights and their education and their experience this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Viviana's website. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort of roll through each of our panelists' websites so you can get a sense of who they are and how to reach out to them. Viviana is the Attorney in Heels. She has a fantastic website, it's theattorneyinheels.com. You could book your 15-minute call. You can reach out to her in regards to the Attorney in Heels network, which she has begun, which is bringing together really phenomenal women who practice law in various different fields. I think that is just so fantastic. You can learn more about her and all of the amazing things that she does, how she services her clients, how you can get a hold of her, and that is theattorneyinheels.com. Next, we will look at herelementnetwork.com. So I want to go ahead and share that with you so you can take a look at all of the phenomenal work that Cynthia's organization is doing. A list of her programs, her element programs, Dare to Lead, Elevate Women, Women's Executive Leadership Program. You can connect with her network, see what events she's doing, connect on her blog, learn all about her as an individual and all of the amazing things and amazing programs that she participates in. Learn about her team, her vision, how she contributes to our world as a visionary, as a leader, as a board member, as a volunteer. So many amazing things to share about these phenomenal women. And then let's go over to askjoe.org, askjoe.org. And I love this. Let's get back to sharing this screen. You can learn here all about, there's her day at the singing the national anthem at Fenway Park. That's so fun. That was so exciting. I just love that. Learn about her as an author. She was one of the amazing women of the Boss Latinas anthology, which we will be featuring here shortly. We're going to be looking at all of the author profiles and looking at, oh, don't forget, she's got another book coming up, The Move, some excerpts that she has here included. Learn all about how to create and establish your own will. It's so very important that we do that. You can learn all about, you can download her free ebook here at this website. You can look at all she's doing about speaking and her signing. And as she mentioned, she's added a new element to her organization with solar. Look how this phenomenal woman is continuing to build out her portfolio. With that, I want to just thank our panelists so very much for your time. We're going to go ahead and go into a break here. Panelists, you are more than welcome to stay on as we go into the presentation this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and share a lunchtime screen, and then we will come back at the top of the next hour, which will be 1 o'clock Pacific time. So I'll take note of that so you can all get up, stretch, get some lunch, take a quick break, and then we will see you all again here at 1 o'clock. Thank you so much, Viviana. It was so good to see your face. I miss you.
Thank you. I miss you too.
Thank you so
I
much.
want to just do a shout out to also Vihil for organizing this and for getting us together, and also for my sisters here on the panel, that I hope that this isn't the only time we meet and not interface with each other. Plan that I will be putting time on your calendar. And for those of you who are listening, whether now or in the future, remember that we are all accessible here. You know, if you have collaborations, if you have things that might be partners, keep in mind we are all headed in the same direction. So reach out to us, get on those websites, find a way to join our newsletters. I'm going to speak for the people around me. These women are phenomenal. I can't wait to get a t-shirt. I don't know if I'm going chingona or if I'm going to do jefa, like so that on on the website, there's like swag. I love swag.
I love swag.
So, I love swag. So, there's just, we can learn from each other and inspire each other, and also benefit from what we've been through.
Thank you so much, Joe. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for joining us today. Thank you, Viviana. We're going to go ahead and take our break now. I'm going to close my video and I will share our lunchtime screen. So everyone go ahead and take a break, and then we'll see everyone again at the top of the hour for all of you who will be joining us. Thank you again also very much, and have a fantastic rest of your morning. We'll see you again right after lunch. Good afternoon, everybody. If you are catching this video, we are here in the midst of the Fall Women of Diversity Global Power Luncheon. I am Vihil Vigil, Women's Empowerment Coach, business owner, entrepreneur, founder and creator of the Empowerment Empire, published author and public speaker. It has been my great honor and pleasure to be hosting the fall quarters, the fourth quarters Business Women of Diversity Power Luncheon. This is a program that we host every quarter. Most of the time we host these events in person. There are a couple of times, typically once a year, that we will do one virtually so that we can expand our reach and you as business owners and women entrepreneurs can join us remotely so that you can learn more about how to grow your business, how to reach out to other women entrepreneurs and business owners whose sole purpose is really to coach you, to help you get developed in your organization, to figure out your pathway to growth. And I want to just thank you all so very much for participating in our program today. And we are just a few minutes shy of getting started on our afternoon keynote presentation. And I wanted to pause and thank our primary sponsor for the program today, and it is Next Step Marketing. It is a company by also one of our Boss Latinas anthology authors, which we will go through and share the author profiles of here very shortly. But thank you to Marifa Mendez, Dr. Marifa Mendez of Next Step Marketing, for being a fantastic partner to the Empowerment Empire. And I am sharing here her website that you can find online. Let me see if I can pull this down at nextsteppr.com. Make sure to take a look and visit her website. She is fantastic in sales and promotion services for your businesses, in your digital marketing. She's a marketing guru. I want to thank her so very much for being our premier sponsor for this fourth quarter Business Women of Diversity Power Luncheon. It is a great pleasure and an honor that she was featured in our Boss Latinas anthology book, as well as being our featured sponsor for this particular event. So with that, I want to go ahead and welcome you all back. And the next thing that I would like to share with you is the Boss Latinas anthology. Our goal for the upcoming year for 2023 is that we will be able to expand our reach of the book. I'm going to go ahead and I will share so you can take a look at our newly designed website, which is really fun and exciting. And it has all of the information on how to purchase your copy of the Boss Latinas anthology, as well as if you scroll down, you'll be able to book an appointment with me if you're interested in learning about publishing your own book, as well as some of the editing services that is being provided by the Empowerment Empire for women wanting to write your own book. And then also you can download a copy of the author's profile, which is such a fantastic way to take a look, to visit all of the authors, learn about who they are, what is their organization, what is their business, what is their profession, as well as take a quick peek at who they are as individuals. So that is Magistra, which is Latin for woman teacher, magistra.us, magistra.us. Then you just click over onto the Boss Latinas Anthology tab. This is also where you will go to be able to watch the replay of the fourth quarter Power Luncheon. We're going to link it to our Facebook group that everyone is going to be invited to join so that you can continue to connect with one another, get to know one another, and collaborate, because the overarching mantra of the Empowerment Empire is through collective collaboration, we all rise. And before I share with you the author profile document, I would like to share with you this. Give me just one moment to pull it up here. Let me see if I can share this particular screen and present. Here we go. Okay, now before we get started, I would like to read my acknowledgements for the Boss Latinas authors. I would like to acknowledge the extraordinary strength that every one of the forthcoming women have exhibited through their willingness to share their lives with us. Thank you for sharing this amazing project with your communities and networks to get the word out about our groundbreaking anthology focusing on the lives of Boss Latinas. When I first decided to invite and feature amazing Boss Latinas to share their stories in an anthology, I thought it was going to be fairly straightforward. I would put a call out for participants and my sisters would join me. I just knew that within 30 days, I would have 50 women willing to share their stories with the world to inspire our sisters and all of the future Boss Latinas of the world to go for their dreams no matter what. But sisters, I can tell you this, it is certainly not what happened. My labor of love that is now this phenomenal book was an uphill battle. And not necessarily a battle with our sisters at all, but a battle with our culture that tells us our voices are better left quiet, that we are left to be soft-spoken and most certainly not ones to call attention to the injustices that we have faced as women, as mothers, daughters, sisters, leaders, students, military veterans, and caretakers of our communities. In the end, we choose to speak up. This book is our testament to the fact that we can live the lives we so choose and share about it. This is our testament to our sisters that we can rise and we can overcome the injustices we have experienced through being open with you about our personal and collective success and the struggling setbacks that try to keep us down. We are claiming our place in our strong Latin cultures. By writing our stories for the world, we are choosing to replace the fear we may have once felt with the power that we share as strong, valiant, and exceptional Boss Latinas. Thank you so much to Joe Welch, our dedicated assistant editor, for keeping me on track and moving forward through this journey. Your motivation, creative thinking, and diligence to the task cleared the clutter and removed the stress over the final weeks of production, and I cannot thank you enough. So here's to our collective collaboration so that we may all rise. With that, I would like to share with you the author profiles of the Boss Latinas. The 31 women that came together to share their stories has been a phenomenal undertaking. These powerful, selfless women who decided that, you know what, their story was really best to be told. The 31 phenomenal women have come together from various places of the globe and have come together to inspire you, to empower you, and to remind you that you too can choose the life that you so seek. So in 2020, when an amazing group of women got together to talk about and to share their stories about how they became phenomenal professionals and business owners, they came to be over a magnificent lunch and a small group of listeners. This event, now referred to as Power Luncheons, hosted by the Empowerment Empire, planted a seed in my brain. I just knew that these amazing stories needed to be shared with the world to inspire countless women and girls to pursue their dreams with gusto, no matter the challenging circumstances and harsh conditions of life situations. As Power Luncheons continued, as they regularly do now quarterly, the inspiration also grew, and so did the number of women expressing interest in participating in a book. So thus, Boss Latinas, the anthology, was born. Over the following 2 years, I had invited women and collaborated with many Latinas in business as possible to now present to you the following 31 women sharing their experiences of life, struggle, hardships, overcome, and hard work for successes. The goal for Boss Latinas, the anthology, is to inspire and encourage our sisters today and our sisters of tomorrow to take hold of their dreams and never give up on them. This special program, the Author Profiles, is intended to offer a glimpse of the phenomenal women who share their life experiences within the anthology. Please visit website www.magistra.us/boss-latinas-anthology to order your copy of the book, to stay up to date on the forthcoming signings, and to connect with myself, Editor-in-Chief, Ms. Vihil Vigil, on future editions of Boss Latinas, the anthology. Thank you so much to Jo Welch, who was the assistant editor of the program. I am so grateful that she participated and that kept us on track and kept us moving forward. And it was just a true grace to have her as part of this powerful team. And I would like to share with you our authors. Vihil Gutierrez, leadership career coach and consultant, founder of Love Your Mission Leadership, Career Coaching and Consulting. Visit her at loveyourmission.com. Viviana Oropesa, MBA, Esquire, founder and CEO of Attorney in Heels, also one of the phenomenal panelists of the Businesswomen of Diversity Fall Power Luncheon that you are here attending today. Rosa Alejandra of Identity Breakthrough Coaching. You can find her at beacons.ai/Rosa Alejandra. Itzel Baeza. She is a financial goddess. I love connecting with Itzel. You can find her at loveyourfinancialdecisions.com. Jasmine Castillo, who has worked in HR and fundraising for nonprofit organizations, who has managed operations. When she's not working at her foundation, she consults for women-owned small businesses, helping them to streamline and organize and grow their businesses. Griselda Beck, MBA, success coach, expert strategist, best-selling author, keynote speaker, proud Latina woman of color. Please find her at latinabosscoach.com. Jessica Marie Gutierrez, power coach. She helps people to take back their power. You can find her online at jessicamariegutierrez.com. Jessica Marin of J. Marin Consultancy, LLC. Find her online at jmarinconsultancy.com. She is a fantastic program and project manager for organizations building and growing their businesses. She's super fun to work with. I worked with her myself outside of the anthology, and I highly recommend you take a look at her offerings. Virginia Dinzy Taveras, MBA, founder and CEO of Adaptive Business Solutions in the Greater Washington, D.C. area. She provides accounting and bookkeeping services, growth strategy coaching, business consulting, and financial literacy education to her clients and to her community. Virginia is a fantastic woman who is always collaborating and connecting and uplifting her community. Definitely visit her online at adaptivecon.com. Marilyn Santiago has the most phenomenal personality. She is the CEO and the creator of Creative Architectural Resin Products, or best known as CARP, C-A-R-P. She is a member of the Board of Trustees at Hodgins University. She is partner and CMO of Creative Architectural Resin Products. She's president at Sunshine Integrated Solutions, and you can find more about her company at carpusa.com. Olga Villarreal, mindset and abundance coach, certified neurolinguistics programming practitioner, hypnotherapist, life coach, EFT and time techniques international speaker, and translator. Find her online at olgavillarreal.com.mx. Veronica Zuniga, HHP CMT LE. She is the founder and CEO of Shalom Beauty and Wellness. You can find her at Shalom Beauty Wellness online, on Facebook, and at Instagram. Bayana De Pena, fantastic, phenomenal woman, CEO and founder of the Aramis Group, LLC.com. Kristen Guillos Bayona, podcastandamplify.com. She is founder and podcasting expert teaching high strategy entrepreneurs action steps for continuously creating highly engaged podcasts in order to grow their successful brand. Find her at podcastandamplified.com. Marisol Tejada Napi, who has also been a very large supporter of the Empowerment Empire. She is always sharing the amazing programs that we are offering here. Please find her online at northstar.com/Marisol Napi. Estela Nunez Franco, MBA, PhD. She is founder and CEO of Spanish Portuguese Press, LLC. Find her online and all of the books that she has. She's also an established author, and she has been doing some really phenomenal things. Recently has been doing book openings and book signings at local Barnes and Nobles in her area. She is out of Atwood, Colorado. Find her at estelanunezfranco.com or Spanish-PortuguesePress.com. Yvette Cuyate Esquire, a Christianpreneur, wealth preservation, victims' rights, and financial abuse expert. Phenomenal lady, so very sweet, loves to really empower her community, provide educational programming. She does a huge wealth of volunteering in her community as well. Find her online at cuyatelawgroup.com. And then here we have our sponsor for the program, Dr. Marifa Mendez, DBA, CEO and digital marketing creator at Next Step Marketing. Visit her online at nextsteppr.com. Amanda Alonso, fantastic woman out of Los Angeles, California, founder of FemPower Den and Brunch Talks. If you are in the Los Angeles area and you are in need of a great space to host an event, a talk, a in-person mastermind or program, definitely reach out to her. The FemPower Den is a fantastic location. I have been there personally myself, and she is a really phenomenal, fun lady. Find her online at fempowerden.com. Liz Lima, MS MBA, founder and CEO of Fierce Moda, which is a fantastic company. You will have to check her out. Also, you can find her at fiercemoda.com. She is also an affiliate for Isagenix. You can find her at isagenix.com/en-us/Isa movie. Dr. Elsie Aquino Gonzalez, coming to us from Puerto Rico. She is the owner and the founder and creator of Latina Voice, which is a very active Facebook group. She's a multidisciplinary scholar, education consultant, and environmentalist. And she's currently under collaboration with some really fantastic nonprofit global organizations. Ana Rendon Morris, she is a businesswoman who is a part of many women business organizations in her area. She focuses on creating and supporting programs meant to empower women at all stages, particularly within their personal development. She owns and operates Renmore Bookkeeping Services and Phoenix Housing. Diana Montalvo, this fantastic, phenomenal lady, Chicana blogger and budding entrepreneur. She's the founder and owner of the startup La Loba Lingerie by Candid Chicana. You can find her online at lalobalingerie.sexy. She's got some really great products for you to check out. Gina Rodriguez, MNLP MCHT, founder and creator of mindmasterysociety.com. She's a second generation Salvadorian American. She is a phenomenal woman to talk to. Her role is to guide high performance individuals to clarity, adventure, and empowerment using modalities that uncover subconscious limitations and to reprogram our minds with the fantasies we want as our realities. I love, love, love speaking with Gina. Imeri Echeverria, born in Portland, Oregon, raised in Guadalajara, and then returned to the United States when she was around 7 years old. She is a survivor of abuse and a violent childhood within her home. At 18, she escaped this relationship and became a single mother living in poverty. Through her story that she shares, she talks about how she found herself living in this rock bottom place and not knowing where to turn. So then when she was climbing out of this dark space, she became a certified 360 leadership circle coach through the International Coaching Federation. And now she works with countless organizations to empower women, to empower individuals to rise up out of the circumstances that they have found themselves in. And of course, Joe Welch, our assistant editor for the Boss Latinas anthology, our fantastic, one of our fantastic panelists for today's program. She's an author, speaker, a coach, an entrepreneur, an interpreter, a singer, a phenomenal woman. Find her online at thewillferry.com, joewelch.com, and askjoe.org. Wendy Lorenzo, a first-generation Latina born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. She is currently a certified mastery method transformational life coach. I love speaking with Wendy. She is so, she just has so much great energy. She's so positive. She's just so fantastic. She loves sharing about her experiences, and she is such a phenomenal brewing coach. Definitely check her out on Instagram at wendyxlorenzo.com. Heather Bravo Martinez. Heather is a phenomenal lady that you can find in Central California, in Northern California, in Stockton, living with her family. She is a human resources business partner at Delicato Family Wines. She is looking at exploring and growing her own business. She's a brewing entrepreneur as well. She's working on her Bachelor of Science degree in business administration. I love working with Heather. She's such a dedicated individual, really working hard to create not only this wonderful life for herself and her family, but she's putting herself first in so many things that she deserves to connect with. And I'm so very excited to continue working with Heather Bravo Martinez. And thank you so much, Heather, for participating in the Boss Latinas anthology and for always sharing about the work that we're doing here with the traveling of the anthology, with our book signings. We're really excited to connect with her on that. So looking forward to great things to come. You can find her on LinkedIn at Heather Bravo Martinez. Victoria Flores. Victoria Flores is co-founder of Luxe Beauty Club CBD. You can find her at luxebeautyclub.com. She is founder along with her partner, Leslie. She is creating accessible, cruelty-free, gluten-free, clean, and transparent formulas that work to transform bodies through the use of CBD. Dr. Denise Vidot, founder and CEO of Beast Flow Academy, founder and president of CELO-V, founder and principal investigator of the International Cannabis and Psychedelic Laboratory, University of Miami, principal investigator of Herbal Hearts Study. She is a tenured associate professor and epidemiologist at the University of Miami. You can find her online at staybeastie.com and herbalheartstudy.com. And yours truly, super excited to be to have worked on this book, bringing these phenomenal women together. Vihil, Vigil, MBA, PMP, CHHC. You can find more about my work in Women Empowerment Business Coaching at women'sempowermentcoach.us. And then for all things events, for Magistra magazine, for our power luncheons, for the Boss Latinas anthology, you can go to Magistra, magistra.us. Looks like my screen got a little stuck there, so now we're not sharing anymore on that. And I just want to thank everybody so much for encouraging our authors, for supporting our authors, making sure that you are picking up a copy of the Boss Latinas anthology, as well as if you know of a women's resource center that could really benefit from a copy of our book. It is a substantial book. If you know of an organization that could really benefit from a copy of the Boss Latinas anthology, sharing the stories of 31 phenomenal women, please reach out to me, Vihil at magistra.us, and I can go ahead and connect with that organization and make sure that they have a small supply of books that they can utilize that they can add to their library, that we can put into place to help continue the work of empowering Latina women as far as we can reach. So I want to thank you all so very much for your support, for encouraging us to continue moving forth, for continuing to share our posts about the Boss Latinas anthology. It is so very important that we get our stories out there, that we are always open to sharing our experiences, both good and bad. What that does for our community, it strengthens our community, it empowers our community, and it reminds our sisters that you are not alone in this world, even if you may feel you are, that there are individuals that you can reach out to, and here are 31 women who are willing to carry that torch and to say, you can reach out to me and I can connect you with resources. And if you're not sure how to go about that, again, please reach out to me at Vihil, V-I-H-I-L, at Magistra.us. So with that, I want to move now into our keynote presentation, which I will be presenting to you. And what I wanted to really emphasize is, as we are moving into the fourth quarter of this year, it is often time when an individual, a professional, a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, you're starting to look at what you had accomplished over the course of the year. And if you have not accomplished what you anticipated on accomplishing, sometimes it can be very discouraging. And I want to be someone to tell you, do not be discouraged. I think it is so very important that you recognize that it's okay to give yourself the grace of forgiveness when you have established this plan of action and you have done your very best to make it happen and it just has not. So what I want to do as a reminder to you is to share with you one of my signature programs, and I want to present to you our power planning program. Are you lacking focus to get the results that you seek? Let me share that screen and we can begin the presentation. So power planning, the solution, the cure for your confusion of what you should be doing daily to achieve your goals. What to expect in the 5 sessions that surround this presentation and in power planning in general is number 1, your mindset work. We talked about that earlier today. Your focus tools and what distracts you. Number 2, what is it that you want to accomplish in this next year, in this current quarter? Number 3, let's define and invest in your needs. What is it that you need and how can we invest in them? Number 4, create your lists and master your schedules. I will have another tool that I'm going to give you for that. And then number 5, with small daily steps, you can climb the mountains, and how to bring it all together. So the mission and the vision of the Empowerment Empire, I think it's important to share this with you so that you know where I'm coming from as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as a women's empowerment business coach. So our mission here is to empower women of diversity to rise through professional development, business ownership, which in turn will decrease the global domestic violence against women. I truly believe this. As we empower women more, we are able to do something to decrease the global domestic violence against women. Our vision, the Empowerment Empire, and all of our programs will improve the lives of women and children through education, opportunity, elevation, and collaboration. So this fourth quarter power planning mastermind, the goal here is to get you on track so that you can get ahead. If you're always trying to catch up, then you're never able to move forward. So let's get you out of that dirty cycle. So first question that I must ask you is, what is the hardest part of staying on track for you? Is it that you are just being taken over by your schedule? Is your lifestyle not conducive to the type of a life that you want to live? Do you have conflicting responsibilities? Do you have conflicting priorities? Who are you as a person in relationship to who you want to be as a person? And what can we do about that? I think those are some of the hardest things about staying on track. So these are some of the essentials that I want to share with you. Knowing and writing down what you want. As simple as this may sound, it is so effective. That is why it is such a huge industry to create vision boards. Because when you see it, when you know what it is that you want, you have a visual representation of this, it is so much more likely to actually come true for you because you see it every day. Earlier, one of our panelists was talking about how she has her annual calendar on the wall. And this is because she can see it. She knows what's coming. She knows what she wants to plan, what month and when. It keeps her on track. It keeps her on target. So knowing and writing down what you want. Number 2, create a list of those needs and create a list of your wants. Don't be afraid to write down the really big things that you feel are unobtainable, but that you really want them. If you start putting it out there, like Joe Welch said earlier in our presentation, it is so much about mindset work. When you believe that it can happen for you, it will happen for you. You will be so much more motivated to put the steps into place so that you are able to make your life the way that you would want it to be. Write it down, make a plan, put it where you could see it. And then write down the actions to plan that will follow. So on session 1, don't worry about the dates because this was presented earlier. So first we worked on mindset work, focus tools, and distractions. I want to ask you what distracts you, but what helps you focus? What helps you stay focused to bring you back to center? Is it that you could put on a specific type of music that is going to trigger you to say, okay, this is work time music? I spoke about this before in my 100 last days of 2022 presentation when we talked about day 80, which just passed. So less than 80 days left in 2022. And I talked about how you set the stage for getting work done. Set those 45-minute calendars as you have time blocked for yourself in your schedule so that you can maintain hyper focus on this task that you're doing. And if you keep getting up out of your seat, or if you keep getting distracted by things in the room or in your house or wherever it is that you're trying to work from, help to set the stage for your success. I like to play certain types of music during the day, and I will set an alarm on my phone to go off after 45 minutes have passed so that I can stop my work, reassess where I'm at, making sure I'm going in the right direction, and even possibly take a mental break so that I can feel refreshed when I sit back down 45 minutes later. So think about what distracts you and then think about what helps you to get refocused and really be conscious about those things when you're making your plan of action to continue down that road for success. So session 2, we talked about what do you want and dream big. Tackling from the sky to the ground in the training, we talked about big picture to daily actions. What is it that you can do on a daily basis that is going to continue getting you down that road to accomplishing those big goals, the big picture? It's all about reverse engineering. Have someone help you or try to work out a schedule for yourself where every day you are chopping down the tasks that are required to be completed to get you to accomplishing that next big goal, that next thing that you want. Session 3 was all about put it on the project planner, and I have a project planner for all of you, so I will be emailing you out the PDF with the follow-up email for this 4th quarter Global Fall Power Luncheon. And it's all about putting your needs on your power planner, creating the action plan to get you to that next step, creating those check boxes that you check off to continue to get yourself there so that you know what needs to happen next. Session 4 is all about creating your list and your master schedules. This is also going to be in the follow-up thank you email that's being sent out to everyone who's registered for the program. Mastering your monthly schedule. What does your monthly schedule look like? Mastering your weekly schedule and mastering your daily schedule. What are some ways that we go about doing this? What I recommend and what I personally do is on Sunday evenings at 7 o'clock, I sit down with my calendar and I am a true advocate of the My PA Planner. I am not getting paid for this endorsement. However, I should be. The reason why I love my PA Planner so much is because it's hourly. Also, it has sections within the book that help me to think about strategic planning for my personal life, as well as for my business life, as well as for my own professional growth. So the tool that I will be providing to you, and I will show you that next, is a planner designed for project management for women entrepreneurs. So within that, I will show you how you'll be able to mark down what your daily steps are leading to accomplishing those monthly plans, those monthly goals. And as you accomplish each of your goals every month, then you accomplish your goals every quarter, and then you are able to accomplish your goals every year. The final session was, with small daily steps, you can climb the mountain. So where do you want to go? Now that you have your focus, now that you have it all written down, now that you know the resources available to you and the resources that you need to acquire, both soft skills, hard skills, and tangible resources. Now that you have an action plan, you now have direction. You have all of the tools that you need. So bringing it all together and moving forward in a well-oiled machine is what we do with business coaching, helping you to continue moving forward, continue moving through that action plan, continuing your process to success. If you haven't defined where it is that you want to go, it is so much easier to get off track. If you are firing an arrow and you don't necessarily have a bullseye, who's to say where that arrow will go? So as an experienced project manager, you get my expertise on reverse engineering paths to reaching any goal. As an international empowerment coach, by working with global women to address their needs, define their desires, and crafting action plans, I can share with you how other women have reached their intended outcomes. And lifelong support. Empowerment Empire clients often become clients for life. You will always receive notice of my new programs as a continued member of our empowerment coaching community. So this was an opportunity to join the 4th quarter Power Planning Mastermind. I still have this program as something that can be downloaded. So I wanted to share that with you. Be happy in your mind, be content with all of the work that you're doing because you know where you're going with this. The one-to-one mastermind experience was really working hard to take individuals through this course over the course of 5 weeks to really establish, what do you want? Where do you want to go? What are the things that you need to get there? And then let's get you those resources so you can start taking those steps towards reaching the goals that you have defined for yourself. So if you stop the roller coaster and you decide to move on with your happiness, and you do this by taking charge of your intentional decisions, be intentional in your decisions and in the directions in which that you go. So a yes to my program is a yes to living a better life. A yes to the program is a yes to putting your best self forward and a plan to act. If you are interested in this power planning mastermind, please reach out to me and I can get you more information on it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share here because these are the previous dates of when the program took place. So let me close that up. And then I want to also present to you the planner that I'm going to be sending out to everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat for anyone who would like to go ahead and just take a look at the document, and then I will go ahead and share with you the program. So first off, see if I can present it to you. Here we go. So it is the daily planner for projects designed for a women entrepreneur. This is like a 25-page document that you can download and print out. And the first steps is that it's going to walk you through the 8 steps to creating a project management timeline. Everything in life is considered a project, whether it's planning out holiday dinner that's coming up, whether it's working on something in your business, whether it's working on, working through a course for yourself on a personal or professional level. I think secondly, that you will benefit from the project checklist and the workbook pages to use as needed for each new project that comes up. So this is not like a one and done document. It's something you can use over and over again. And then the following project management focus pages and the workbook is your 7-day planner to keep you organized and moving forward in your daily success. If you're not interested in joining the, me as a one-to-one business coach, where I provide to you the 376-page and $65 My PA planner for 2023, this will work just as well for you. What I like about the giant planner is, I can keep moving through the year and still have everything all in one nice, neat place. These individual planners, you can certainly print out, put a 3-ring, hole punch in it and stick it in your binder to use on a consistent basis. So whatever works best for you. Mine is certainly more colorful. I really enjoy this is my branding colors. I really particularly enjoy this. And I utilize this myself as well for smaller projects. So the first page talks about the 8 steps to a project management timeline, to creating this project management timeline. So within the Power Planning program, what do we do to really map out the steps that we have talked about you needing to take so that you can get yourself to that next step? So we'll talk about generating your project goal and the scope on which you're going to be working within. This is, I think, defining the scope of your work is so crucial, because what that does is it keeps out all of the distractions. It keeps out all of the things that are not focused on this one particular task. We'll talk about making a work breakdown structure. Then we're going to break down those pieces into smaller tasks. And we're going to find out which factors the project is dependent upon. We're going to set time allocation for all of your tasks. We're going to research the available and relevant sources that you need to tap into. Highlight the important achievements. You have to celebrate those wins. If you don't celebrate those small wins, you're not going to be continuously motivated to get to the bigger wins. And then through this process, you'll create your project management timeline. If you're interested in some information on project management methods and methodologies, I list out 4 of the most popular for you here. And then here's that checklist. So you can download this for free on women'sempowermentcoach.us website. Just go over to the Library of Empowerment, and you can just download this 1-page PDF. But I will be sending you the full PDF as an attendee here at the 4th quarter Business Women of Diversity Global Power Luncheon. So this basically takes those 8 steps, and you can put it as on the very front, so you can check these off as you're moving through. And here's your workbook pages. So each set of pages in this document gives you space to write the project goal, to flesh out your ideas, to think about what it is that you're looking to accomplish. The project scope is the part of the project planning that involves determining and documenting a list of specific project goals, deliverables, tasks, costs, and deadlines. The documentation of a project scope is called a scope statement or a term of reference. And if I'm losing you in all this information about project management tools, I want to remind you that to be able to sort of pull away emotionally from your business and to start functioning as a business owner and not someone working a passion project, this is what I highly recommend. I highly recommend putting on that CEO hat where you're able to look at your business in such a way that you understand you need to define and document the work that you're doing so that you know where you're going. Here is an example of a work breakdown structure. You're going to talk about initiating your project plan. You're going to do all the planning. You're going to do the execution. You're going to do the work that you talked about doing. And then the control are your resource management, your costs management, your risk management. How much risk are you willing to take when completing this project or growing your organization? And then close out of the project. Do an audit to see how well did I do during this process. Cleaning up any loose ends, and then reviewing all of the documentation that you have completed during this process of project development so that you can see for the next time, what could I have done better? What wasn't necessarily something I needed to do, but I learned a lot from. It's a way to continuously learn what you're doing to advance your knowledge moving forward. Here's how we break down each piece into smaller tasks. And this is an example. So my one-to-one coaching clients get this opportunity to sit with me on looking at their full business and determining how can we break it down into projects? And then how do we define what are some of the subtasks that need to happen to accomplish this piece of their business, to accomplish this area of their organizational requirements, this goal that they've set for themselves. You need to work out a strategic management plan. Let's break that down into subtasks so it's not so daunting. Number 4, define factors that the project is dependent upon. For example, you can't drive your car without gas. The car is dependent, that the movement of the car is dependent upon the fact that it has gas, amongst, of course, a host of other things to make sure that it's working properly. But that's an easy way to look at your dependent factors. So what are the dependencies that have to occur before the project can move to the next step? And I think those are really important things that we need to think about. This is all about defining the foundation and time allocation. So now we've talked about what are all of the things that need to happen for you to be able to accomplish this particular goal. And then what is the deadline for those things to happen? What is the ultimate goal that you have to finish your project by, or to launch your new course, or to sell 55 candles? What is it? What is your deadline? And then we look at all of the tasks within your project that need to be completed, and we assign a date to them. This is how things get done, because you are intentionally designing a process to move them forward. The 6th document, page number 6, or piece number 6, research available relevant sources and document them. Every time you figure out what it is that you need, and then you go down the rabbit hole of the internet trying to figure out where it is that you can buy this thing. And then, for example, you need to order branded t-shirts. There's a bazillion places out there where you can order branded t-shirts. Do you always document where you specifically ordered them from? When you start doing these things, then you start building this knowledge resource bank for yourself, where you like to go for certain things, where I like to go to actually print my books, because the 100 fantastic affirmations to inspire you is not black and white inside. It is pink, and the pages are thicker than the pages that I have gotten from the publishing through Amazon of the Boss Latinas anthology, and they're black and white, and they're more text as well as imagery. So I document where I get all of my books printed, because I have an experience now. What company is better for printing what type of a book? So keep yourself organized so you're not hunting for what that resource is again. And then there's a second page. So I just included 2 pages for you. So number 7, highlight the important achievements. Write out and share with your team and your community the wins that you have achieved, when they are achieved, and who participated in these wins. Celebrate the small wins. Because when you celebrate the small wins, you have that continued momentum. It's like a little extra push, so that when you are taking on the bigger tasks, or when you've accomplished all the little subtasks and you're getting ready to launch that program, you feel good, you feel motivated, you're inspired, because you have shouted to the world at the top of the Empire State Building, I have done this. And it is okay. You need to celebrate your wins. It is okay to talk about your accomplishments. We are, as women, as moms, as Latinas, as entrepreneurs, as women of color, as women of diversity, we are oftentimes taught, don't brag about the things that you've done. And that is horrible advice. And I'm going to take that piece of advice and I'm going to remove it from your knowledge bank, because it is important to celebrate your wins. It propels you to keep moving forward and finding the success that you so desire and you so deserve. And then page 8 is all about creating your project management timeline. It's a smaller page. It's not meant to be the end all be all. It's a place to get you started. Define your start date and define your end date. And then what we in the project management world, or in the business development world, like to call reverse engineer. Reverse the process on, this is what I expect to have at the end. This is what I have now. What are the things that have to happen in the middle to get me to my end point? And when's the date that I want to be there? Because then that tells you how fast you need to move, how slow, how much time you can take. Not how slow you can move, but basically how slow you can move, how much time you have to take to start accomplishing these tasks and subtasks, etc. And then crucial next steps. So you have learned so much today in this program. You have experienced phenomenal women entrepreneurs and leaders sharing their thoughts, their expertise, their experience on how to continuously grow your business, how to set a solid foundation, how to continue to grow, how to create a business that has staying power, and how to set your business up for the end goal. How do you manage your time to accomplish these things? You've completed a great deal of work just by thinking about these things. So transfer over, once you complete this document, transfer over the project elements and the timeline details to an actionable calendar that I have provided to you in the next couple of pages. But I really want to talk about time blocking your calendar. So the following calendar pages that I've included in this document for you are not date specific, so that each page can be used an endless number of times for your continued planning of projects and programs. So color coding projects on calendars, if you're going to use this calendar or another calendar, I always recommend these little sticky tabs that you can write the topic of your project that's being accomplished within its pages. Do things to keep yourself organized, intentionally so. Don't just say, oh, well, I've got this notebook, I'm just going to write away this project and that project. Be smart about it by identifying this section of my notebook is for this project. This section of my notebook is for this project. It will save you so much time flipping through pages. So color coding projects on calendars is highly recommended, and it allows you to manage personal, professional, and family projects on a single calendar. So whether you're using highlighters on paper or an online tool, find a marker to keep projects and associated tasks grouped together to keep your calendars clean and not confusing to you. Marker being not necessarily like a highlighter marker, but like, what's your mark? What is it that you're going to use to differentiate your projects from one another and where you're at within them? So consider the following time blocking within your calendar. 45 minutes of focused work on a single project, followed by 10 to 15 minutes of a break. Repeat this schedule as much as possible throughout each day of your work week. 45-minute focus, 15 minutes of break. And then block project work time for existing projects with a separate block of time for exploring new projects. And it doesn't have to be a huge chunk. It doesn't have to be the whole 45 minutes. Block physical activity time for yourself I know we sort of broke the rule for that today because we've been at this program for a number of hours, but when you, for your regular work week, make sure that you are scheduling time for yourself, whether it's time to be able to get up and refill your water, or it's time to go get that massage that you so deserve. Make sure that you are putting me time, you know, time for yourself on your calendars. Block time to follow up with emails and phone calls twice a day. If you are constantly getting lost down the rabbit hole that is your phone, because it's going off and it's beeping at you because you're getting a Facebook message, you're getting an Instagram message, you're getting emails, text message, et cetera, set specific times of the day that you will address all those messages. Schedule blocked time to work on business development activities. Like Joe Welch talked about earlier today, get yourself a roll of quarters, and for each quarter, you have picked up the phone and called someone, and you had spoken to someone and heard their voice. Set a designated amount of time in your calendar to be able to do that on a consistent basis. That's how we grow our businesses, by connecting with others, by participating in masterminds and in programs and conferences. But it's also how we grow our business, because we're conducting the activities of business development by picking up the phone. Schedule block time for personal development, like reaching out and meeting with your coach or your mentor. You can't always give, you have to also receive. You can't pour from an empty cup, so remember to fill your own. And then the daily power planner pages. So that is like the motivating instructional guide piece of this document, and then the rest of it is beautiful and lovely and clean for you, just like this. The daily power planner. It's made up from Monday to Sunday. What are your daily big 3 goals for the day? Check off your tasks throughout the day as you accomplish them that are related to your daily big 3. And then here's a quick and easy way to map out your full schedule from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. It doesn't have to be super, super detailed, but it has to be for you so you know exactly what you're doing. And then, as you'll see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday goes all the way through Sunday. And then I celebrate you. So great work. Once you learn the steps to successfully managing projects, you can then successfully manage anything. So when you are ready to dive even further into the benefits of planning and managing, I invite you to attend one of my quarterly power planning programs for action-taking women. When we have the opportunity to manage our personal lives, our professional lives, and our family lives in the most efficient way possible, is when we find the greatest joys and the benefits to this life at our fingertips. So with that, I want to thank all of you so very much for your participation in our fantastic program today here, the Business Women of Diversity Fall Global Power Luncheon, providing you with fantastic information and resources geared towards business women of diversity who are entrepreneurs, business professionals, business owners. Thank you so very much to all of you who have attended all day. And if you are registered for the event, then you will receive this replay, you will receive the workbooks and any other information that our phenomenal panelists have provided to you. I would like to thank them again. Viviana Oropeza of Turning in Heels, Cynthia Boyer-Trejo of Her Element Network, and the fantastic Joe Welch. Thank you so much for being assistant editor for the Boss Latinas anthology, for being one of the fantastic panelists, and for being an all-around awesome entrepreneur, willing to put yourself out there and to continue to connect and continue to show us how we can continue to grow. Thank you everybody for participating. I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic weekend. And I will be reaching out to all of you soon with a quick survey, as well as with all of the documentation and fantastic offers that our panelists have prepared for you. So take a look for all of that information to come. Please reach out Have a wonderful day. Be safe. Go forth.